What is going on, YouTube people? Sorry, I was a couple seconds late there. Had some camera difficulties right prior to hitting the button to fire it up. How is everybody doing tonight? May have a special guest at some point in time. We will see. Don't know how long we'll go for. Probably not too terribly long. Hour, two. Spidey Jew, what is going on? Apparently, give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Spite, if you want to pop on, check your IG DMs, my man. Do you do signed comics? Not really. I do not own a signed comic. I don't have a ton of interest in signed comics. I prefer the book Al Natural with no modifications or enhancements, if you will. That being said, at some point in time, I would like, and it doesn't even have to be a major book. I would actually probably look for X-Men 11, potentially. I wouldn't mind something signed by Jim Lee, just because that's like my gateway drug to comic books was Jim Lee. So I definitely wouldn't mind having like an X-Men 11 Jim Lee signed in like a 9.8. Like that's not super expensive. I could probably get one for a few $100 just to have one, just because I really like his artwork and he like kind of got me into comic books to a degree. Or maybe even like a Wolverine 20 or Wolverine, what is that one where he's jumping at the cover? Wolverine 27, I think it is. The cover from the X-Men or the Wolverine Acclaim game. I like that cover a lot too. 268 wouldn't be a bad one to have signed with him, Wolverine, Cap, and Black Widow. And then I wouldn't, at some point in time, I wouldn't mind having Stan Lee's signature on something. I probably wouldn't even necessarily care if it was a big book or not, just to kind of have a signed book by him. But like key books, like I would not want my Giant Size X-Men 1 signed. I would rather have that just straight blue label. I prefer blue labels. I think in a lot of cases, the signature takes away from the book. Personally, I know a lot of people don't agree with that. I know a lot of people agree with that, but it's kind of is what it is. Do what you like. What is up? What is up, everybody? Yeah, pretty much what I just talked about there. Yeah, I mean, I get like McFarlane to me is good. Like McFarlane to me is really good. He's cool. I have no personal attachment to Spawn. I like some of his Venom stuff. I probably wouldn't want a McFarlane signed book. Maybe I would. He has a really good signature. I will say that. McFarlane has an amazing signature. I see you back there, Spidey. I'll get you in 1 second. I feel like this isn't new news, Namor being in Black Panther 2. I feel like that's been around for a hot minute. Or at least heavily rumored for a while. And same with Doctor Doom. What's up, 357? What's up, Michael Ham? I don't really know what's going to be hot. It's kind of in a weird place. Holy smokes, director of awesome. Coming in off the top rope. What is up, DOA? That is very not necessary. Sheesh. Rav, what is up? I enjoyed your I watched your thing with Dakota a couple weeks ago. It was very entertaining. I have nothing in MetaZoo. I know nothing about it. Nothing. Don't even understand it. I like know what it is, but I got rid of all my Donovan Mitchells. I talked about it in a previous video. I traded the one away. I had the PSA 10 Prism Mitchell, moved it, and then I just sold my 2 optic bases. I didn't have much. I just had a bunch of base. so I moved off of it. I still Director Awesome just off the freaking out of nowhere with the RKO. All right, we got a guest in the back. I'm going to bring in SpideyJu09. First time on the channel, but I have not streamed with him before.
Yeah, how's it going, man?
What is up, buddy?
How's the audio? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good. You're a little quiet, but I got you.
Okay, good. Yeah, turn me up. I'm not in my normal setup, so I'm making do here. Yeah, I was in the study when you reached out.
Oh yeah, I just saw you in chat, and I just figured if you wanted to pop on.
Flipping
Steve might be on later. I'm not sure.
I guess since I wasn't on when Director of Awesome dropped the 200, I don't get to share in that at all, right?
I'll catch it. Yeah, you were technically on the live stream yet, so that doesn't count.
Makes sense.
Steven, what's up? Steven's one of the local guys at one of my shows that I see all the time. I don't know if I'm going to make Hartville or not this Saturday.
So the Dallas card shows this Saturday.
Yeah, are you going? Is
the plan is to go right now. It's 4 hours away.
Oh, okay.
So I can get up early, drive in, hang out till about 6, drive home, still do it in a day trip. It's not the funnest day trip, but I can still do it.
Are you going to Atlanta?
I don't know what day that is. There's a lot going on in February for me.
Last weekend in February.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I have a lot of trips in March and in April, so I kind of have to pace myself a little bit. But I'd like to go. It's because it's the culture collision. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's important for Marvel cards to be there. I really wish I wish we had some displays or something that we could at least have, if not have product at a few of these shows.
So Steve, who might be on at some point in time, I'm not sure if he says he's on his way. I don't know if you're familiar with Flipping Steve's work on YouTube. He is, I believe, 100% confirmed to be setting up there, and I believe he is going to have an entire showcase of PMGs, jambalayas, the whole 9 yards. He can confirm that when he hops on here in a little bit. But for those that don't know in chat, because Spidey's never been on the channel before, Spidey does have his own YouTube channel, and you're part of, what is it, Marvelous? What's
Marvel's Pack Fresh podcast?
Yes. I've been on, but I can't. There's too many Marvel and Marvelous and Marvel pack and pack openings, and
it's it's a key word, so shows up everywhere.
Yeah, definitely gotta have that one.
But SpideyJu is not a key word. So
Spidey is, but yeah, you have your own channel as well. You did the 12 days of Christmas breaks.
That was a ton of fun for me. Obviously being able to wake up every day and know you have a box of cards to rip is a lot of fun, and give them away, and the community really just joined in, and it was a lot of fun.
I got to see a lot of products ripped there that I don't normally see ripped, which was interesting.
Somebody was given a Battle Spectrum gem from 2020 Marvel Masterpieces.
I saw that. John, where did that news come out at, that Beckett's opening back up February 4th? I did not see that yet today. I'm just gonna do a quick Google.
So I did a walkthrough service with Beckett last summer. Like, I literally walked up to the building, and the front entrance had been converted into a storage area. Like, they had people, well, I don't know who it belonged to, but they had cards just stacked everywhere in the reception area. It looked a mess, to be honest with you.
I don't see anything on their website, but that doesn't mean anything. Beckett's. Now, I was curious because you graded a bunch of Spider-Man 101s, right? Or like very low numbered rare stuff.
Yeah, I graded the Spider-Man. Well, I didn't grade it. I had it authenticated. The 1/1 PMG, the gold, and then I had the purple, green, blue, red, and bronze, and pattern all graded at BGS.
So I always meant to ask you, why didn't you just actually have them graded and just authenticated?
Well, with the 1/1, for me, I actually really want to put that into an CGC slab. And I didn't want to put a grade on BGS, but I wanted to protect the card and authenticate it. And so it was really a tug of war with me. So I called CGC, didn't get anybody worth talking to on the phone, but I was like, hey, we know that eventually you will grade Marvel cards. We just don't know when. I would love for this to be your showcase piece when you roll out the grading for Marvel. And I'm willing to wait on you if you'll just let me know that it's going to happen. And I couldn't get any response.
That sucks.
Mhm.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Do you know? So I don't like everyone's wishing and hoping that CGC does Marvel cards, but are we sure it's not going to that they're not going to throw it at CSG? They're trading like the sports card division.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. So I have to be careful because I don't know anything, but talking to people who supposedly know, right? CGC is very much working on the data right now to grade, and there may be a connection directly from Upper Deck EPAC to CGC. So when you open up EPAC, you don't even touch the cards; you send them straight to CGC to be graded.
I mean, it would make the most sense for CGC to grade them like 100%.
Mm-hmm.
So give me 1 second. We got Steve in the background. We're gonna bring Steve in. What's up, flipping Steve?
What's flipping?
You got no audio, Steve. I cannot hear you. I can see you loud and clear, Maverick. Get the Top Gun hat on. Check your wing, Goose.
Right.
I'm gonna scroll through chat while he's figuring out how to work the internet.
One
Okay,
sec.
I figured as much.
That's hilarious.
So this is my biggest problem trying to plan show travel is we had a few people at work go on vacation and then literally could not get home. We had people in Florida on vacation and had to rent cars to get home. Like it's been trying to plan travel seems not fun at the moment.
Yeah, I've heard the airport is rough. And we just lost United out of our airport. They shut down entirely. We now have Delta and American Airlines, and that's it.
Buying or selling NFL playoffs. I don't have any football cards to buy or sell other than Baker, and Baker's not in the playoffs. So I am more interested when it comes to NFL. I am more interested at seeing who dips, specifically Herbert. If Herbert gives a nice little dip, I would definitely be intrigued to say the least. I don't know that he will, though. I could see his prices staying relatively flat, but crazier stuff has happened.
So as a Louisiana guy, I own one Joe Burrow rookie card. It's a base, not graded, but would love to own something special of his and Jamar Chase.
They both look really, really good. What are my thoughts on all base since everyone is encouraging to get variation, numbered, and SSP stuff and all that? If you're just starting out, I think base are fine. I think it's going to be harder and harder to make margins on base. Like if you're buying to flip, I think that gets a lot trickier. I like Steve just throwing wires around in the bottom screen. That was fantastic. Maverick to Goose, come in, Goose. But the base card market is just rough. I haven't done a data deep dive on it in a hot minute. I've spent the entire last year basically moving off as much of my base cards as possible. And I'm not even necessarily moving into numbered stuff. I almost feel like this is probably a video topic, is silver and hollows the new base almost? And then is base like even something else? So I don't know. It's an interesting discussion point, but base stuff has been getting just hammered. I'll have to check out Beckett's site later and take a little peek at that. Has anyone checked in on Dakota today? Don't get started on the grading news. I've spoken to Dakota multiple times today. That Sports Cards Anonymous for those that don't know him by his real name. I had put a funny comment on his computer. Isn't detecting my mic.
Oh,
turn it off and turn it back on again.
Good news is you sound great. Is there any new grading news?
It sounds like Beckett might be reopened, but I'm not. Beckett's website is a disaster situation.
Right.
So, all right, looks like we lost. We're gonna remove Steve, kick from studio, not ban from studio.
So on the Marvel card side, it's interesting that these high sales have been Beckett's recently.
Yeah, a lot of that is because you could sneak a higher grade sometime with Beckett because of the subgrades. So like if a card has bad, like for example, the blue Spider-Man PMG that just sold in a BGS 9 with 8.5 corners, I don't think that card ever gets a PSA 9 ever. with those corners. There's no chance in hell it gets a PSA 9 with those corners. But you could leverage Beckett's subgrades. They'll hit the corners with an 8.5, and if everything else looks clean, they might give it 9s and 9.5s, and then you sneak into a BGS 9. That's why people send a lot of the PMGs. A lot of F1 stuff's really flaky. Anything that's really, really tough grades, bad edges, bad corners, like stuff like that, that's like very sensitive cards. A lot of people send that stuff to Beckett for those reasons, because you could sneak a half grade higher sometimes than you would normally be able to with PSA.
Yeah, so if you're centering and your edges or surface is good, it's much better to get a grade with Beckett.
I mean, if like 3 out of your 4 things are really good and you have a flaw on the card, regardless of what it is, like if one of the 4 main categories looks bad or rough, some people will try to send that through to Beckett to try to sneak out, you know, a 9 instead of an 8, or a 9.5 instead of a 9, or even an 8.5 instead of an 8 in some cases, like on PMGs.
So what's your view on half grades, like the 8.5 and the 9.5?
Oh boy, you're gonna get me in trouble. I personally prefer, I don't mind half grades, but I want 10 to be the main grade. I don't like BGS that their gem mint grade is a 9.5. I don't like that CSG and CGC that their main grade is a 9.5. I don't have a problem with half grades. I don't have a problem with subgrades, but I want a full to 10 scale. I don't like how Beckett has a 10, but it's not really an achievable 10 for most cards. You know what I mean? So I would, if they want to do like a thing above a 10, that's fine. If Beckett wants to do a black label, that's fine. But I honestly feel like Beckett would be positioned above PSA if they had PSA scale with a black label on top, but BGS 10 was like their BGS 9.5. Because the secondary market just wants 10s. That's really what it boils down to.
So follow-up question for you. If you have opportunity to acquire an SGC 9.5 of a special card, what do you do with it?
If the values were there, like my general stance is grading is always a math equation. So if you could buy that card and pay, regardless whether you're talking Marvel or not, pay the $100 fee to PSA or whatever it would be to grade it with PSA, and you think you have a reasonable shot at getting a 10, but you would break even on a 9, I would do it.
Same.
Like if you could buy SGC 9.5, whatever your cost to entry is on the card, plus $100, if that number equals close to a PSA 9, I would crack it and send it.
So are you familiar with the 1996 Marvel Masterpieces?
Yes, to a degree. I don't have like intricate knowledge of it, but I'm familiar with the product, obviously.
So there's a particular base card that is typically garners a higher price than any other card, and it's the Psylocke. And I was able to get it at a 9.5 SGC, and now I have it going off to PSA.
Gotcha.
Because I feel that because the 10s are difficult, really difficult in Marvel Masterpieces. So even if I get a PSA 9, I'm still fine value-wise. But if I can hit the 10, it's, you know, you're talking 3-4 times what I paid for it.
Yeah. And on the sports card side, anyways, the secondary, at least on modern, the secondary market doesn't really know what to do with SGC 9.5s. They get a little premium on some stuff, but on some stuff, they sell very close to an SGC 9. I got Steve in the back again. Maverick the Goose. Come in, Goose.
So it's not used like a BGS 9.5. Oh, we have a lot.
We got them.
Yeah, so here's the simplicity of it. So I go into all my sound settings and everything. I even reload. I was checking all the cables up here on the USB, only to realize it's the cable that actually attaches to my mic that was loose.
The old adage of is it plugged in?
The one right here in front of me.
I'm going to catch up on chat real quick, and then I actually have some questions or a couple things for both of you guys. Do the Browns get rid of Baker? Probably not. Originally, I thought yes, but it came out and they basically said that they're not. So what is this? Our group submitter finally heard from Beckett Rep. They guaranteed our orders from September and October in 2020 would be done by February. Interesting. Does anyone have the direct link to the Beckett thing that could DM it to me? I don't think it'll let you post it in the YouTube comments because their website is a pure disaster. Beckett did send emails saying they are accepting standard orders in person at TCS. They've always accepted standard orders at, well, they've always accepted orders at Dallas. I didn't know about standard. 6 months, 8 card. Blah, 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 blah. Hey, Liam, what's going on? 94 flare, Psylocke double impact.
No, not the double impact, the base.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm relatively caught up on chat. There are a couple questions that I missed, but I'll try to circle back to them later. Steve, we were talking. So I don't know. Do you know Spidey at all? Have you watched any of his stuff?
Yes, I know who he is. Definitely from Instagram as well.
Yes. So we were talking about he's going to the Dallas Card Show and he's hoping for Marvel stuff there. And I asked him if he was going to Atlanta because I know he's in the South somewhere. And he said maybe. He's like, I'm hoping there's going to be a Marvel presence at Atlanta. Steve, you may or may not have a table at Atlanta. Can you confirm or deny that there will be a Marvel card presence in Atlanta at the Culture Collision show?
I'm going to be taking quite a bit of Marvel stuff. I'm probably taking more Marvel cards than I am anything. I know in Dallas that the great curator, Daniel, he's taking quite a bit of Marvel stuff with him, at least the PMGs that he had. He just revealed like a 15 card PMG return. And he said, I'm going to Dallas to set up to kind of be known as the person that has Marvel cards. Because to be honest, a lot of the shows, and not just Marvel cards alone, but the type of stuff that I like to collect, I never find it at shows. When I go to shows, all I find is really high priced basketball, football, and baseball cards, and vintage, lots of vintage. The parallels, what's popular, gold prisms are trending right now in the sports card market, but I can never find many Marvel cards, rock and roll stickers, old Panini stickers, movie star cards, pop culture icons, the stuff that I like. I can never find that stuff. I talked to Kenny, who was at a show in, I believe it was Hickory, North Carolina this week. There was definitely a show in North Carolina that Kenny was at, and I messaged him at the show. I said, are you finding any Marvel stuff there? And he was like, there's one Wolverine PMG, but the guy is asking too much money for it. So at that show, he located like one Marvel card. Now, that's probably a smaller local type show. Dallas tends to be very diverse in what that show has, probably more diverse than any show besides the National. However, again, I don't think you have lots of people setting up with the Marvel cards. And I'm going to say that because I think a lot of the Marvel cards are in the hands of collectors, as opposed to, people who buy and sell sports cards. They get them in, they get them out. The inventory is constantly moving, as opposed to where Marvel cards kind of land with a certain buyer and they tend to stick. I kind of get that feeling. I'm starting to dabble in the Marvel card market, so I'm not an expert by any means. I'm not an expert in sports either. But I mean, I know even less about Marvel cards. I know that PMGs are popular. I know that when the sports card market floods into Marvel cards, it's going to automatically gravitate towards the cards that are popular on the basketball card market. You're going to go for PMGs. You're going to go for jambalayas. You're going to look for platinum portraits. You're going to look for Intimidation Nation. All the inserts that we love from Fleer and Skybox from the 90s in football and basketball are what we're going to, naturally gravitate towards too in the Marvel card market. So myself, I'm going after and looking at other stuff that I think looks awesome, that's serial numbered, and I'm just, buying it up at what I think is cheap because I'm used to buying sports cards. And if I was to buy a sports card of, say, a player, the caliber of, say, a comic book character, it's just a fraction of it's just a fraction of the cost, and the cards are fun. I think they're fun. They look great. You can collect them based on scarcity, based on looks, based on the art. I'm falling into it more and more. I will say not even counting I bought a collection this morning, a Marvel card collection this morning. However, even up to that point, probably my last 25 to 30 ComC/eBay purchases have all been Marvel cards. And I just want to load my showcases up. I've got 3 tables at Atlanta. Now all 3 tables, I've got the 3 tables in my name. There's going to be other people setting up with me. But that's enough for three showcases per table. So that's like 9 showcases between the groups of us. And my showcases will mainly be a lot of Marvel cards. I don't want to be known as the Marvel guy because that's not my niche. I don't deserve that title because there's lots of people who have done Marvel long before I have. But if someone is looking for a Marvel card, you know, it would be cool if that got swirling around the show that, hey, I'm trying to get into Marvel cards. That dude down there, Steve, has a showcase of them, you know.
Do you guys have any thoughts regarding this question here? I mean, I know from a sports card side, on-card autos are a premium. It's just because, like, the person, whether it's Marvel or an actor or a celebrity or an athlete, knowing that that person actually had the card in their hand and signed it adds extra value to it versus the sticker autos do. That being said, and Spidey, correct me if I'm wrong, on the Marvel side, the autos are much more rare, correct? You don't see what's the. I honestly don't know what's the split between like on-card autos and sticker autos.
Okay, so in non-MCU product, there's almost no autos unless they're very particular sets, and they're from, you know, someone who had some affiliation with a comic book, whether a penciler, inker, author, whatever, right? Generally, those are on card. If you go back to the cards from the 1990s, those autos are they're all on card, and they're from Stan Lee, Jim Lee, big time, you know, comic book personalities. Your newer stuff, the MCU stuff, is almost all stickers, and scares me a little bit because you just don't know how many stickers they signed, and what's the real rarity of those autos, except for Robert Downey Jr., who actually signed some Rittenhouse products. If y'all are familiar with the term Rittenhouse, right now Upper Deck has the Marvel license, but at one time Rittenhouse did, and he signed an MCU set there, and it's on card. And it's Robert Downey Jr. It's kind of the holy grail of, you know, Marvel autos.
RDJ auto would be so ridiculous to get. But
Yeah, they're like $15,000. I know that's not a lot in sports, but in Marvel.
My answer to this, I don't know that there is a correct answer to this. What is the go-to Marvel card set to just get started? I mean, whatever you like is the cliche answer, but there are a billion options to choose from on the Marvel card side of things. I mean, I went back. So when I dove back into what I collected as a kid, which was 90, 91, 92 Marvel Universe and X-Men 92 Jim Lee, which are fantastic products. They're graded well. They're worth an okay amount of money. They're not PMGs. They'll never be PMGs, but it was a fun set that I collected when I was a kid. So I would just do your homework, and if there's a certain thing that speaks to you, just go for it. I don't know that there's a right or wrong answer for this question. I mean, you know, on a budget, probably some of the older stuff would be cheaper. You know, you can get boxes of Series 3 for dirt cheap compared to, you know, Flair or Marvel Masterpieces are what, $600-700 a box. You know,
$600
Diamonds
for 2020.
$400-500 a box.
Black Diamond is now $800 a box.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the new product, right? This year's, like the Black Diamond or exquisite stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a question for YouTube before I fall back on chat again. This is my thumbnail for tomorrow's video. And Steve, I recorded this prior to knowing that you bought a collection.
Oh.
So I'm going to save my answers for the video tomorrow, but I'll ask both of you. I mean, Steve and I know we've lived this on the sports card side of things. We watched the charts and moon. This stuff can't go up forever. So, like, when are we gonna? Do you guys think? Obviously, we're still on the way up. I guess I'll leave that up there. Obviously, well, or I mean, maybe we're not on the way up, but how much longer can this last for? And I know that no one really knows the answer to this, but my general take is the stuff can't go up forever, and at some point in time, it's gonna take the reverse side. I'll throw it to Steve first.
Well, you know, every sale is not going to be a record breaker. But I think that, you know, the fact that you and I, Neo, who are really heavy sports card type guys, are sitting here discussing Marvel cards tells me the growth in the market has not even. I still like to refer to it as untapped. I think a lot of the people who have been in the Marvel card market for a long time, again, like I said, are collectors. I don't think there's been a whole lot of, if you were to compare Marvel card sales on eBay to sports card sales, it's probably not close. And I'm going to say that we're talking about PMGs, and we haven't even like cracked the surface of some of the cards that are out there. We get so many questions, especially on my channel as a sports card, and we just had that question a couple seconds ago about what do we think is a nice entry level Marvel card to start with. That tells me that people are looking to get into Marvel cards. That tells me that the growth is just starting, because you have people saying, what's a good entry level? If people are like, it's showing that more people are starting to care. When more people are starting to care, going to start to buy. Marvel's not going anywhere, branding wise. We know it's only going to get bigger from a movie and television standpoint. We're going to see characters in movies and on television that people have never even heard of unless they followed comic books. And new characters and new storylines are going to be developed constantly, and it's going to constantly breathe life into the cards of these characters. It's no coincidence that these Spider-Man cards are breaking records as the Spider-Man movie is in theaters. Will there be a drawback as that goes away and a little bit of popularity pulls back? Probably. I mean, it just happens that way. But the next movie that comes out, when the Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch movie drops and they're the two main characters, do we see a big boost in their cards? It's kind of like going into a season and then things die in the middle of the season and pull back, and then the season comes around again and things build back up. So again, with so many people asking about Marvel cards and going to big sports card shows and looking for Marvel cards and not being able to find them, just tells me that I think the surface is just starting to get scratched, as opposed to, there could be pullbacks on record-breaking sales. As far as a crash, I don't see that. I see growth before I see that.
And I don't think that the Marvel card market itself is going to crash. I just don't know that the PMG prices specifically, how long that's...
Are they sustainable? Yeah, are they sustainable?
Like even, so part of the research for the video, spoilers for tomorrow's video, I mean, even, rare LeBron and Kobe stuff, like LeBron refractors went to all-time highs for a month or two period, and even stuff like that pulled back. You know what I mean? So no collectible asset just goes up forever, really. I mean, not, PMGs are rare, but they're not like impossibly rare. You know what I mean? Like there's 100 red PMGs. We know exactly how many there are. Or we know that there's 50 blues. Yeah, they might not come up a ton, but I just, once they reach a certain point, you're going to reach the top of that graph. We know that that's going to happen, and it's going to come back down. Now, I don't think it's going to crash back down to zero. I don't think you're ever going to be able to get a Spider-Man PMG for $1,000 or $2,000 like you probably could have 6 months, maybe a year ago. But and one of the things that was kind of, my question in the video tomorrow is was the blue PMG sale this weekend, and then I'll throw it to you, Spidey, was that the canary in the coal mine, if you will, because the blue with worse subgrades sold at auction at Golden for 132 on Saturday night. On Sunday night, one was on eBay for $99,999 with better subgrades, a terrible picture, but better subgrades. And it didn't get a bid until the final 3 seconds with one bid and sold. So that, I don't know if anything sketchy happened there. The tinfoil hat's behind me. I can put it on if I need to. But that seemed a little strange. Like maybe there was literally only two guys going for the blue, and the one guy bought the one, and then the next night the guy just swooped in and got a good deal on the other one. I don't know. But Steve and I know on this high-end stuff, when you see, on the sports card side anyways, when you see that one sell for the all-time record and then all of a sudden one sells way below that, sometimes it's a race then, and the market could only handle so many of these expensive assets hitting at one time. So if people semi-panic, I don't know that this is going to happen. Once again, this is just all speculating. Then it's a fast track back down to whatever the new floor is going to be. Spidey, your thoughts on anything that we just talked about there?
Yeah, so I want to be careful here because I get a lot of reaction if I say something really definitive, especially in regards
Yeah, we're
to
all just guessing here, folks. No one knows. We're all idiots with microphones. We just decided to talk in front of the internet.
right. And so specifically PMGs and specifically 2013 PMGs. Okay. Because those are the two sales that you referenced, the red and the blue golden auction, the $72,000 sale and the $132,000 sale, followed up with the eBay sale of was it 99,000? Those are all 2013. So 2013 PMG sales, no, I do not think we're going to see that crash soon. I think we're going to continue to see that multiply quite a bit, actually. We haven't seen even a green PMG Spider-Man. We don't know where that's going to end up and when it does come up for sale. To make sure all the viewers know, that's out of 10, where the blue was out of 49 and the red was out of 90. Really, it's 11 through 100. So there's 90 of them, 100 of them. And so, those cards, the green Spider-Man PMG had the previous all-time record, sold back in May for 36,000. So you can see how much the market has changed. Obviously, anything that grows and is healthy eventually needs to be pruned and cut back. So we'll eventually see prices go above where they probably should be and then come back down. I just think that what's happening right now is a new floor is being established, not a new ceiling. And so the question is, how high does that ceiling go before it comes back down? And I don't think we're there yet.
My big concern is just that the downside seems to happen a lot faster than people realize. Like it just kind of comes out of nowhere, and the next thing you know, it's like, oh wow, that came down fast. And it happened. Sports cards weren't the only thing that did this. Comic books did the same thing. In this, sports cards did it in the summer of 2020 and February of 21, and then comic books did it in March, April, May of 21. Stuff hit all-time highs and then came down fast. I mean, it was up there for a month or two and then came down, and they leveled out at new floors. So I just think it's hard to see that coming when you're in the hype and the zeitgeist of every sale is higher and higher than the next one. But I just think it's interesting, and especially as these prices get so high, when you're starting to see Spider-Man PMGs sell for more than you could get, which we've gone round and round about this before, about a nice grade, Amazing Fantasy 15, that starts to get a little wild to me. That's when I start going, how sustainable is this? And like I said, I'm just drawing this from what Steve and I saw on the sports card side. Any follow-ups?
Did you hear Ken Golden's comments about it?
What's that?
Did you hear Ken Golden's comment about Marvel?
No, but I assume it was something about it's just getting started or something like that, because that's in his best interest to say that.
Well, he was actually pointing to the AF-15, the comic book. He said that he wouldn't be surprised if his 7.5 AF-15s ends up being the most valuable collectible he owns. Sports, non-sports.
I wouldn't disagree with that, at least in the medium term anyway. I mean, something might come along that trumps that at some point in time, but I think it's not going down. It might go down a little bit, but it's not going anywhere anytime soon anyway.
Here's what I think we can say pretty definitively. With the exception of with 4 or 5 sales that we all can point to publicly, Marvel card values have not been where they should be when you look at the value of the brand and the property in comparison to, say, Pokemon and the sales that they're seeing. Pokemon's used to $100,000 plus sales. It's not uncommon. But for this to be the first time a Spider-Man card has ever reached 100K and Pokemon's been sitting there for a while, to me is something's out of whack.
And I agree with this comment from Vic. I think Marvel in general, I think a lot of Marvel stuff is going to take off over the next year or two, trading card wise. My specific concern here is strictly with the PMGs, not the Marvel card market, if you will, to throw that term around. I think that is going to be strong and healthy for a while to come. It's all about the PMGs for me, is how sustainable are these prices to continue? Because as you and Norrin have both mentioned multiple times, there are things actually way more rare than PMGs out there. Just people haven't figured it out yet. And then what happens when, how crazy does that stuff get? Steve, you want to hop in with anything there?
Yeah, but the question with the rarity on the PMGs is, okay, we definitely have a hard serial number on them, per color. You're talking about a very condition sensitive card. And also cards that weren't necessarily taken care of, because let's be real, there were Marvel cards in 2013. And unless you were specifically buying Marvel cards to collect as investments, you probably didn't take really, really good care of them. I mean, I bought Marvel cards back in the 90s, like the Impel sets, like you had, Neo. I remember hand collating that set myself out of packs. But I didn't soft sleeve them up or anything. You know, I was like in high school. I just had them in a white box that you would build a set in, you know, back in the 90s. You know, you didn't take your 89 Upper Deck baseball set and sleeve all the cards up and stick them in there. You know, maybe the Griffey you did. So when you do that with your Marvel cards, okay, maybe you sleeved up your Captain America, but you didn't sleeve up the rest of them. You know what I mean? And now all of these characters all of a sudden are becoming popular. And you know, lots of characters aren't going to draw Spider-Man prices. We get it. Spider-Man's like the Michael Jordan of Marvel cards. Okay. That's a given. But there's other characters that people are going to, I'm a Doctor Strange fan. So I like to buy Doctor Strange cards. I'm sure there's other Doctor Strange fans out there that will pay for Doctor Strange cards. In fact, I know that there are, because I've had people offer me money for my cards. I just haven't sold them because I like Doctor Strange. And again, it just keeps going back to what is a good entry-level card to get in on Marvel, because people are priced out of the PMGs in sports and in Marvel. The people buying PMGs are high-end collectors with deep pockets that don't care how much they have to spend to get an item that they want. You know, spending $132,000 on a Marvel PMG sounds like a lot of money to me. It probably sounds like a lot of money to people in the chat, but to the person that bought that, it was probably a drop in the bucket, you know? So,
but to the person that got it in 2013, it was life-changing money.
Yes, exactly. But the person buying it now is someone who probably $130,000 to them is like nothing. That card is worth that to them just to be able to say that they have it. How many things pop up? We haven't seen lots of listings of Spider or PMGs period graded in a 9. Not just Spider-Man. I'm talking about all characters.
Yeah, I'll tell you. So as someone who is about as deep as you can get into Marvel cards, right? Especially for the last 12 months, I have not had the opportunity to seriously consider getting a 2013 Spider-Man. You know, not without like getting, you know, a home equity line of credit or something to try to purchase it. They just don't come up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't see them come up. I mean, you talk about Michael Jordan rookie cards, 86 Fleers, and there's a lot of those out there, but how often do they come up for sale in a 10? They actually come up more often than a Spider-Man PMG does. So again, rarity wins in the end, regardless of what you're collecting. It can be anything. You could be collecting coins, stamps, or whatever. Rarity wins in the end. Right now, PMGs are appealing to the eye. They're highly trending, and that's the only downfall is that they are trending right now, and things go in cycles, things trend. But they're drawing a lot of attention to the Marvel card market, which will cause a lot of the other cards to gain some popularity. People are looking for the next, okay, what can I afford that's nice? You know?
Yeah, I talk about that tomorrow is that it feels a lot like the sports card market of everyone jumping to like what's next. Like a lot of people are priced out of PMGs now, and then they're running to literally everything else, and you're seeing a lot of other stuff really start to price up in Marvel cards that before was, I don't want to say worthless, but like didn't sell for very much money at all, or didn't have a ton of demand behind it. So it's interesting watching. I mean, right now it's basically full spec mode. Like people are just grabbing whatever they could get their hands on the Marvel card side of things, hoping that they get the next thing that whoever talks, you know, Gary Vee sends a tweet of, or a Instagram post, or Steve Aoki or somebody of some particular niche Marvel insert from 1997 or whatever, and the next thing you know, they're sitting on a gold mine. But there's the blessing and the curse is there's so much variety and so much stuff out there, because there's just so many of these in the weeds insert sets and e-pack achievements and like this, that, and the other thing. And now we got, I'm importing boxes of Marvel cards from Japan. I'm making Amazon Japan accounts. I don't know what my life is. I have 4 boxes coming tomorrow. I just sent one of the Captain America double rares to SGC for grading today. Like it's a mess out there. I want to circle back to a couple questions here really quick. And I lost, where did Michael Hams go? Spidey, do you collect sketch card stuff? I know I'm personally not into it.
So not at a high level. I mean, there's people who have 6,000 sketch cards. I have some. They have to be really appealing to me. I don't look at them as an investment personally. I just had I don't know if y'all saw it, but I had the Michael Jordan rookie card. I had it homage with Peter Parker Spider-Man as Michael Jordan, and the Jumpman Jordan logo card. I had that one done as Miles Morales. But that was something I wanted, particularly for me, for my own personal collection on PC. Pack pull sketch cards, I don't collect a ton of them.
Happy birthday to Global Sports Card Investor, frequent member of all of our chats. I see you back there, Dustin. Let me get caught up on chat real quick, and then I'll pull you in. Give me 1 second, gentlemen.
There was one quick comment where I
go
think
for it because I'm way behind Steve.
Yeah, I think Mark was talking about Marvel cards coming down. To be honest, a lot of the other sets, other than PMGs, are not up. So it's going to be hard for them to come down if they're not up. The other thing is, he was talking about, wouldn't you rather have a key issue comic book? Yes, if you're a comic book collector. I collect comics and cards. I love key comic book issues. Just because I like Marvel PMGs and Marvel cards doesn't mean I stop liking comic books and my Silver Age keys. That's what I love. But when you're a card collector and a comic book collector, what's the perfect marriage for you? A comic book on a card. It's like,
so Steve, your
it
point,
just comes out to me,
I paid
it's the best of both
$6,200.
worlds.
Oh,
is that the variation?
Yeah, that's
At
a
a
big
9.8.
daddy.
So which one do you think I paid more for?
Oh, probably. Well, when did you buy the CGC book?
Bought this past summer
And when did you buy the Gwen Green?
in December.
This December?
This
This
December?
December.
The green, 100%.
You paid
This
more
cost
for the
me
Gwen
$3,000 more than the comic book.
Wow.
And I was happy to do it.
Green.
But that goes for a lot more now.
This one?
No,
This
the
is
other
a-
one.
So what does
I
this
think
sell
those are
for
like
now?
10 grand now, aren't they? Or 8 grand?
But you can't get this for 15 to 20 now.
Yeah, I was going to say that green PMG because
Yeah.
um,
But there's
10
also
of
more
those.
than 10 of those, though.
Yeah, there's no market on that
CGC.
green PMG.
There's 10 of these, and it's the alpha.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, how
Oh,
many
it's
is
the alpha,
what's the CGC census on the,
I haven't checked.
I know
in a
it's
while,
low, but
yeah, but it's still like 100.
yeah, I mean, that's a big difference, though. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? That is a big difference. And you're also talking about a modern key there as opposed to, like, comparing, like, an AF-15 to,
No.
Yeah, you're
totally
also talking
different.
about a comic book that you can probably get a market price on as opposed to a card that you can set the market price on.
Right.
yeah, like, if you were to sell that now, you're sending that to an auction house, probably. Dustin, what's up, buddy?
What's up? Thanks for
Are,
having
are
me
you
on.
buying $10,000 PMGs?
I want to. I hear Steve talking about it. I'm
He's
like,
buying
man,
so many that we're going to start calling him PM Jesus.
I've been the one that's I've been the winning bidder on all these auctions. I'm just Kaiser Sose behind the scenes working my magic.
When's your unboxing video for the blue Spider-Man PMG from Golden?
Yeah,
Did you buy both of them? Did you get the one on Saturday night and Sunday night?
that was well. So how much? I saw the one went for what, like
Well, you're
$1.30?
supposed to buy two. Isn't that the way you flip?
Yeah.
Buy multiples.
That's right.
The one on Saturday night went for 132. The one on Sunday ended with one bid for 100,000, but it had better subgrades. And the last bid, the bid came in with about 1 second left on the clock. So it was a little sus. I'm going to say it's a little sus.
No, and that's what I was going to ask you guys. Do you feel like the prices on the PMGs, I mean, it makes sense if you're looking at it from the sports card perspective of like, yeah, it makes sense PMGs. I mean, heck, if you go and look at, football PMGs for nobodies, back in like 2000, they're expensive just from set collectors trying to collect stuff. So I can understand why the Marvel stuff is expensive, but are you surprised to see the 6-figure prices, or do you think that that's like pretty standard kind of going along with all the other things that are moving up?
So, Neo, can I respond?
Yeah, I was going to throw it to you anyway.
So I have an advantage here in the sense that I've actually been a part of brokering some really large private PMG deals, and these are not actually the first $100,000 sales.
Oh, that's a good point, actually. There's so many. I mean, think about the private sales that happen that we know nothing about because those people are not interested in sharing it. And they might never, they never will. I mean, there's probably huge money that doesn't care to share.
They don't care that you even know that you'll ever know they even own it.
Right.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
everyone buys the flex.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Not everyone buys the flex. And once again, like I said, I don't think that the Marvel card market's going anywhere, but I do question how much. Dustin, I don't know if you caught the beginning of the show, but we kind of
I missed it.
Open with,
Yeah.
We have seen this before on the sports card side where things go like this, but they can only go like that for so long before they go like this. So, like, where are we at on the PMG scale? Are we here and we still got here to go, or are we here and now we're going to go this? You know what I mean? We don't really know where we're at on that wave.
So, Neo, you're a part of a Marvel Card Facebook group that just reached 3,000 worldwide members, and that's it. I mean, to me, there's no critical mass here. Not everybody has knowledge about Marvel PMGs. These are the insiders that are talking about it.
Yeah.
Do you guys struggle with, for six figures, you can buy some wicked comic books too, for $100,000. I mean, you could get a pretty nice AF-15 for $100,000.
You're literally repeating what we talked about earlier. It's funny.
Oh, dang. All right. Okay,
You're fine. You're fine though.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah.
So my lean has always been, once the prices get that crazy, I'm going to lean towards the AF-15. But Spidey's point is, which he just proved with the green, there's 10 of those out there. Like specifically, we're talking about the green, and we really haven't seen a green come up for sale recently of like an actual like ultra key character. There's been some that have sold, but there hasn't. What's the last like major green that sold, Spidey?
36,000, the 2013 PMG Spider-Man. However, I was a part of, to some degree, I probably be careful with my words here.
I'd say public sale. I don't want to get you in trouble.
Well, this is public in the sense that it's been posted on Instagram, and I can verify it. But a Michael Jordan Ruby, graded at an 8.5 BGS, was traded for Spider-Man PMGs.
Okay.
And real quick,
that's a big card. Michael Jordan's a huge card, $200,000 card, and it was traded for a 2015 green PMG and 2017 green PMGs, not 2013.
And real quick to that point on the decision, if you had that kind of money, would you rather have the Amazing Fantasy, or would you rather have a PMG? We don't know about what the buyer has. If the buyer is a Spider-Man collector and, they are spending $130,000 on a Spider-Man PMG, they probably have a nice Spider-Man comic book collection / Amazing Fantasy comic book. Now, me, I don't have Amazing Fantasy. So if I have $150,000 to splurge on a Spider-Man item, I have a decision to make.
Yeah.
This person may not have had a decision to make. They may already have that. And I'm going to guess that somebody paying that much for that card probably has some nice Spider-Man comic books already. And this is just something that they're tacking onto their collection, because I'm guessing that this is going into a PC, basically a coffin card. Unless they're looking to sell it long term. But if you have $130,000 to drop on a card right now, you're probably not hurting financially.
Yeah. I was just looking at gocollect.com. So for AF-15, there's 3,601 total graded right this second, according to that site. And then for that price point, you're looking at like a 6.0 CGC. And then, of course, you got the raw copies that are hanging out there. But to your point, there might be 10 of the PMGs or whatever. There's only, if you're looking at scarcity on it.
Yeah, they're hard numbered. So
would you rather have a 6.0? Would you rather have a 6.0 AF-15 or that card? But yeah, I mean, if Marvel cards blow up, is the PMG considered the top of the food chain for Marvel cards? Is there anything would be more expensive than that card?
Us sports card idiots are going to say yes. I have a feeling the true Marvel guys are going to be like, yeah, PMGs are nice, but there's actually nicer stuff out there. And Spidey, you don't have to name what those things are. I don't want to get you in trouble. But
yeah, no, I appreciate
if that statement isn't
safety.
accurate, please correct.
As far as Marvel cards, though?
Yeah, so if I may, the PMGs are special, obviously, because they have cross pollination. A sports card person comes in, they know immediately what they're looking at, And so that when you have confidence equates to offering higher prices, right? The education piece is the issue. So if everyone had total knowledge of Marvel cards as a whole and their the inserts and the rarities, no, it would not be the top of the food chain.
Good to know. I've got work to do tonight then. Steve's already.
Good luck. It's a big, it's a long checklist.
He's been doing that for like
stuff.
3 months. Steve's like 3 months ahead of me, but
I'm building up a lot of Marvel card inventory, and
But that's
really, I'm not.
that's
looking
also
to
part of
sell.
the fun, right? Is digging for those nuggets.
And I'm not really looking to move anything till the Atlanta show. So as of right now, I'm kind of just drawing back on what I'm buying, or I'm not. I have 2 arms and 2 cases to take what I can take to the show.
You got Dustin to carry all your stuff.
I'm going to be walking to the airport, stopping every 30 seconds to rest my arms. So it's
instead
like
of doing the research on all the inserts, I'm just gonna, when Steve's not looking, grab them out of his case and be like, "Oh, Steve, what happened to those? I thought you had those cards." I feel like that's what happened when I was like 10. And we had like our like boxes of cards. Like, didn't I have a Ken Griffey Jr. rookie? Where did it go? Like, stay the night with your buddies, and all of a sudden, all your cards disappear.
Yeah. To Sam's point here, actually, no, you can't, Sam, because the cheapest box of 2015 is on eBay right now is $100,000. And I actually saw. Did you guys see a box of 2013s on eBay?
Yeah, for $299.
Yeah, 300,000 for not. Now, obviously, that's asking price. I don't
So-
think. I think we all know that's not
well,
a $300,000 box.
Well,
or
so I
whatever,
can
but
tell you that a box of 2013 recently sold for $20,000.
that doesn't. 20,000 doesn't surprise me.
It's
300,000
fair
is a different
price.
story. But
No, 20,000 was a fair price.
yeah, I 100% am not surprised that a box of 2013 went for 20K. That's 100% believable in my mind.
And I'm still hopeful that it'll get ripped.
Boy, that would be. You get some views on that video.
Yeah.
Because there's not even. I've Googled before. There's not a lot of box openings on that, even on YouTube.
All right, so you want to hear a crazy story about 2013 retro? So you've probably seen the video of Sports Card Investor opening that box at the end of 2020, pulled a red Wolverine PMG or a blue. I think it was a blue Wolverine PMG.
Yeah, I remember when
Which
he hit
is-
that. I'm like, wow, that's massive.
That's a $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 card graded right now if it's got a good grade. And a Scarlet Witch red PMG. And they bought that box from Canada for $300.
Whoa.
They found it on some weird website, made the purchase, and it came in. Some Canadian website. And anyhow, probably the last one that you could have ever bought online.
Wow.
Yeah, because that stuff's freaking impossible to find. And there's a lot of other cool set out of there.
I'm
Yeah.
so happy for Jeff. I'm so
Yeah, but
happy.
Sam, you're not getting PMGs out of 2015.
But he didn't even
Marvel
know what he was opening. He was like, yeah, oh, cool, whatever.
Yeah, I remember Hammer. I think Hammer lost his mind on that one when they opened that. I remember
He
watching
did.
that video.
And I don't know what the auction went for, but it was like a 6-hour auction. It went fast.
CGC will not currently grade Marvel cards, but we are all holding our breath for whenever they drop that press release.
Mhm.
And so this is an interesting thing. Like, we're all hoping and wishing that they will. And I'm sure from a collector standpoint, collectors will send Marvel cards to CGC in droves. To me, from a evil investor standpoint, I'll be curious to see how CGC 9.5, specifically in Marvel cards, compete with PSA 10s. Do we have, I'll throw this to Dustin first, then we'll go Steve and Spidey. Knowing what we do from the sports card side, do you think a CGC 9.5 Marvel card, how would that hang in the scale of secondary market stuff? So Dustin first.
I think if it's rare enough, then people probably won't care. But if there's enough of a difference in price, my thought is they'd probably try to crack it if they feel like, because my thing is I don't think that's CSG grading is going to be any
Well, this would be CGC though. The spec
CGC.
is that CGC will grade them, the division that grades TCGs. So the label would match the comic book label. It would be a blue
That's
label.
interesting. So it's different graders than the sports card people.
Yeah, it would be the TCG graders grading it.
Okay.
So the label would match. It would look just like a comic book label. That's
guess my
why
only
the
thing
spec is that, you know,
how tough are they grading the other stuff, the non-sports?
I don't know,
stuff?
because TCGs grade completely differently. I'm just talking strictly like you had the two same cards lined up. Do you think the CGC 9.5 would get not a premium, but compete better with the PSA 10 because people that are in the Marvel game are going to want that match to the comic book label to a degree. Like, do you think that puts
Yeah, I
extra
would.
sex
So
appeal on it?
my guess would be for like the hardcore, like the comic book collectors that are also doing Marvel cards. I think that they're CGC all the way. And then if it's the sports card investors, you know, those people kind of moving in over, then they probably want the PSA copy.
Steve,
But
thoughts?
yeah.
I think the PSA graded will touch a bigger demographic. The CGC ones, like we said, will look great with a comic slab next to it. But that's only going to appeal to people who collect comics as well, where something in the PSA slab is going to appeal to the comic collectors who collect Marvel cards, as well as people trickling in from the sports card market who know PSA to be their brand. And that's not all of them. Before everybody says SGC is my brand, screw you. I'm just saying it's the biggest, you know, it's the brand name of PSA that draws market premiums. So again, yeah, from a collector standpoint, who is also a comic book card collector, the CGC, you know, might appeal to that. But as far as people falling under a bigger umbrella of people looking to buy, because you have people who are going to want to buy Marvel cards that want nothing to do with comic books. That's just the reality of it. I like both. That's just me. Neo, you like both. Dustin, you like both. You obviously like both. You just blasted us with 2 Spidey Gwen pieces.
50K
So it's
worth
like
of Spider-Man stuff.
yeah, so it's like, but for the person who's strictly a card collector, I don't think that they're really going to target the CGC slabs.
Yeah. Spidey, I'll throw it to you, and then I have some thoughts on this.
Yeah, so my first thought is we already kind of see this play out with Pokemon. CGC grades Pokemon, PSA grades Pokemon. PSA still sells for more than the CGC graded Pokemon, right? So I think from an investment standpoint, it's still going to be PSA, you know, until, you know, something crazy happens. The interesting piece that you guys mentioned is how many comic book collectors out there right now don't collect comic cards, but would if they could match grades, and how many buyers does that bring into the marketplace, therefore kind of helping sustain the growth of a CGC slab of a Marvel card.
Yeah.
I like the comment too. Someone had said they should do like a CGC 9.8, you know, for the
I
card.
saw that.
That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, that would be cool.
What about one holder that holds your card and your slab?
Yeah,
There you
one
go.
big display piece.
So my
cool.
take here is I agree with what you guys said. I don't think it'll touch a PSA 10, but I do think a CGC Marvel card would have potential to be claim and lay claim to the number 2 slot. Like, I would much rather have a CGC 9.5 Marvel card than an SGC 9.5 or 10, and probably even a BGS if I had to be quite honest with you. Because we've all talked about this. I think most of us have talked about this before. The CGC cases and the CSG cases are excellent. They're amazing. The CSG, talking on the sports card side, the green label sucks. However, the CGC labels actually look pretty good. Like, I've looked at a lot of the Pokemon cards and stuff graded. They look good in hand. And we all know that their cases are crystal clear. I think they could potentially niche out a clear number 2 slot, because there really isn't a good number 2. You know, Beckett's so priced so high, very few things make sense to send to them to begin with. And people have a love-hate relationship with SGC. So I think there's a niche there that they could easily carve out a 2 slot there. Any thoughts on that? I'm going to get caught up on chat while you guys are talking.
Neo, if I could just real quick, another reason why CGC would probably take the number 2 spot for Marvel cards is because of their signings that they do. So if you get a yellow slab of a Marvel card and get a signature or some type of etch on it from CGC authenticated, I think that would be something that really pushes them up towards the top.
Yeah, if I could send them 92 X-Men with a Jim Lee exclusive signing, you know what I mean? Like, or that 90 Impel Marvel Wolverine brown suit with a Jim Lee signing attached to it, there would definitely be some appeal here. Real quick, they do not grade
imagine if they
Overpower.
came for sale.
Yeah, they do not grade Overpower. That's not one of the TCGs on their list. They do grade TCGs, but it is a limited list. And I'll throw it back to you guys for thoughts on, could CGC potentially carve out the number 2 slot? Dustin and Steve.
Right now, honestly, SGC is pretty strong in the Marvel card market. I know that from firsthand experience. You guys saw my last SGC return, which had a lot of PMGs in it. I don't have any of those left. Those sold quick, and they sold for decent turnaround. I mean, enough that I was willing to sell them. And they didn't even go on eBay. I had that YouTube video, and my Instagram blew up. Is that Carnage for sale? Is that Venom for sale? And I was like, well, yeah, everything's for sale. Everything's got a price. I'm no $1 million man, but I was like, so at SGC, PMGs, and we're still just talking about PMGs at the moment, as opposed to all Marvel cards. They look good in the tucks. Okay. That black border really makes those cards pop, regardless of the color. The blue looks good in them. The red looks good in them. The green looks good in them. I've never held a green in my hand. I wish I could say that I have, but I've seen photos. So do they draw PSA numbers? They don't. Are they currently the number 2? Probably. I mean, the BGS ones sell also. I think people send them to BGS because they think BGS is going to be a little more lenient on the grades, considering those cards are very sensitive. And when you start getting into the corners might get dinged, but it has a great surface. So my subgrades, this subgrade is going to prop this subgrade up, and it's going to give me a better overall number. So I think that's why a lot of people use BGS for their PMGs at the moment. A Doctor Strange green I lost at auction. It was a 2013. The 2013 to 2015 green sold on the same night. Actually, the green, the red, and the blue from each year sold on the same night. It looks like I think 2 people had a rainbow for close to a rainbow for sale. I lost that. Again, you guys know that I lost. My final bid was $3,550 or $3,600. This was raw. It went for $3,650 raw. It popped back up on eBay. Actually, the 2015 that went for $4,000 actually went for more than the 2013. I don't know if it's because of the image, but it popped back up on eBay a couple of weeks later in a BGS. I want to say it was an 8 or an 8.5. That person had bought it. It was the same card because I looked at the serial number on the back. So that person had bought it, sent it to BGS on a $250 turnaround, got it back in a couple of weeks, and then had reposted it on eBay for 10 grand. So they were in 4,000 raw with their grading fee. They were basically looking to double up on it. I think it ended up selling for 7,000, somewhere between 7 and 8. So people are doing that with Beckett and still getting monetary value there. But I think that SGC for me, because I can send a PMG to them for $30 as opposed to $250, and it looks great. I think the slabs look really good with the way that the card makes the card pop. Recently, I've sent them the PSA because of the monetary value, but I've sent them in the past to SGC for the quick turnarounds, the value, and the look. So again, if CGC comes in there, I don't think it's an easy number 2, because I think SGC kind of has a solid foothold on number 2 right now. Can they compete with SGC? Yes. Can they compete with PSA? Probably not. So I think that it'll be a debate, even if they were to get into the market, kind of like we debate now, who is number 2, SGC or BGS.
Yeah, the secondary market will end up deciding that with price tier. But I do know that the Marvel card people, anyways, myself included, are desperately waiting for CGC to take cards, Marvel cards specifically. So it'll be interesting to see what those prices look like once they actually hit the secondary market. Dustin, you have any thoughts there on anything from the last 5 minutes or so?
Are we answering this question from Josh? Or was that
I'm going to get to that next. That's why I put it up on the screen.
Okay. No. Yeah. Keep on going.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
No, I'm good.
So 99% of the time, I'm going to take the BGS 9.5. I'm sure there's an exception where I would take a PSA 9, but 9 times out of 10, I'm going to take the BGS 9.5, even on a min gem. The min gem would be a little more questionable, but anything min gem plus or true gem, I'm definitely taking the BGS 9.5 without a doubt. Min gem, it actually gets a little closer. Min gems are tricky tricky mistresses to try to sell sometimes. It really depends on the card. If it's a tough grade card, I would take the 9.5 without a second. But most of the time, I'm going to take the 9.5. Any hot takes on this to the panel?
I'm in the same boat. I like BGS holders better than PSA. So, I mean, of course, it depends on the card. You know, which
Depends
type
what you're
of
doing
card
with the
you're
card,
talking
too.
about. What's that?
Depends what you're gonna. What is your end goal for the card?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I'd go with the BGS probably most of the time.
Oh yeah, I'm going to go with the BGS just because it's going to have the gem mint label. It's gem mint as opposed to a 9 is mint. Also, where your subgrades laying at. If your subgrades are good, you might have a PSA 10 in your hand. So again, I also like Beckett slabs. Beckett's a respectable brand, been around for a long time. At one time had the foothold on the grading market. So I would always,
okay, Steve.
yeah, I would just always rather choose a gem card. You know, if it's among one of the big three, I would always rather, or 4 if you want to throw CSG in there. I would always rather be holding a gem card than a mint card, regardless of the number on it.
The only thing I don't like about Beckett slabs, and I've seen this happen on a lot of them, is scuffs on the inner sleeve. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that before, but I have 100% seen that on quite a bit of Beckett cards. Like you actually look at the inner sleeve and you can see scuff marks on it from when encapsulation happened. I've seen it on like a lot of Juan Soto's and stuff. Not all my cards have it, but I've definitely seen it on some stuff. I saw it on a Baker that I almost bought at the National, actually, and I didn't buy it because of the scuffs on the inner sleeves. But that does happen every once in a while. What is
yeah, the scuffs on the inner sleeve can, you know, hurt your overall display the card. Yeah, the eye appeal. However, it is an extra layer of protection though.
I like the inner sleeve. Don't get me wrong. I don't like how they scuff. Like whatever they do to encapsulate puts those scuff marks on there sometimes, and sometimes you don't notice them at all. But I've definitely looked at cards where I'm like, I don't want to deal with that when I go to resell it because it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, it would be like if you're just buying a scuffed sleeve altogether. Like I keep all mine in graded card bags, but I know people that don't do that. They just keep them. They want to be able to stack them, so they scuff them. And then sometimes you look at a slab, and if I have 2 cards, if I'm looking to buy a card and 2 of them are sitting next to each other, and they both have the same grade, they're both the same card, I'm going to pick the one without the scuffs on the slab.
Yeah. Dustin, I feel like this question was built for you.
Transformers. Well, yeah, I was trying to figure out if Alex, Global Sports Card Investor, is talking about the toys or the cards or I think there's also comic books as well. I'm pretty sure there are. So I don't know, Alex, which one are you talking about, or all of it? I mean, I guess as a brand, they've already made a bunch of movies. So it's just, you know, it kind of falls into the same bucket as, you know, like Fraggle Rock for me, you know, all the Thundercats, you know, all the 80s stuff that I think is awesome. But it's just like, I just don't know if that's going to have the same sort of cult following that, you know, that it did for like my generation. I don't know if that'll carry forward. It might be something different, but I don't know. It depends on what you're talking about, I guess.
The problem with most of the pop culture stuff that's not Marvel or Star Wars is that they don't have the Disney machine behind it. So you get a movie and then it's like 2 or 3 years and you get another movie, or maybe you get some mediocre TV show or whatever. But whether it's Disney Studios, the movies, or Disney Plus, it's just this deluge of Marvel show, Star Wars show, Marvel show, Marvel show, Star Wars show, Star Wars show, Marvel movie, Star Wars movie, rinse and repeat. And it's just like constantly priming that pump, which I think, you know, I think Disney Plus really escalated the comic book market, helped that market kind of go to the next level. And it's definitely not hurting the Marvel card stuff. That's for sure.
It created a new type of speculation, which doesn't hurt.
24/7 speculation.
Right. But specifically to Transformers, it's a massive brand, as Dustin said, but it started out as a cartoon, right? And then other things were added onto it as a novelty, where like Pokemon started out as cards. Marvel started out as comic books, which cards are really closely associated. It's not that big of a leap. The movies came later. And so if you're talking about cards, I don't think Transformers, because it didn't originate from comic books or cards, that it'll ever be, that big of a play.
Yeah. And pretty much what I just said about Disney feeds into this next question. Is anyone looking at DC? The problem with DC is that they have the two most iconic characters probably in Batman and Spider-Man. Like those, an AF-15 has the current record for comic book sales, but I think we all know if a Detective or Action Comics came up in a high grade, it would probably trump that.
Double it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the problem with DC is that Marvel just has like the endless storylines with all the characters, all the different brands. I mean, think about like there's like 40 years or what, 60 years of Marvel storylines going back, and that's before they even tweak the stories. Kind of how they have with these new movies. That's before they even mess with it. So with DC, yeah, you've got far less characters. You're talking about Superman, Batman. You've got some really cool characters and villains, but how many different ways can you do that? And they're going to try. They're going to keep on doing it different ways. They're actually Warner Brothers actually putting out good movies now. I mean, that last Joker. I think this new Batman movie is going to be good. But there's not 100 different characters, at least that I know of, like with Marvel.
Well, it doesn't feel like they have a concise plan either. It's just they just keep throwing things at the wall. Something sticks. They run with it for a hot minute, but then they throw something else at the wall. Whereas Disney, there's, Feige's in charge, and whatever Papa Feige says goes, and he's pulling all the puppet strings over the entire universe, where the other ones feel more just someone different throwing something at the wall and seeing what sticks.
So,
yeah, go ahead, Spidey.
Well, sorry, just to Neo's point, it's really about leadership at DC. Now, Jim Lee actually is running DC right now. And DC owns all of its own properties. It's not, Sony and Disney and whatever kind of split up like it is with Marvel, but Marvel has incredible leadership. So if DC ever gets the kind of leadership that Marvel has right now, I do think that you will see a ton of value or increase in DC properties. The other problem with DC is they're really heavy on the villains, and villains are really good, but they don't really resell very well. You see this with comic books. I mean, they're okay, but it's the superheroes that sell. But I do have this thought. What if we ever saw a Superman or Batman PMG? Like, that would be insane.
Yeah.
I mean, when's the last time a DC card set came out?
There's some weird
that was not movie related. Let me preface that.
That has the DC license right now, but they typically only put out movie related stuff. And it's like DC is just waiting out their license before they put it out somewhere else.
Who'd you say has that license? I missed that part.
I can't remember the name. It's totally off the wall.
Oh, so it's just like some random fly-by-night place or something.
There is some really cool old, like the Joker stuff, I think goes back pre-war, like into the 40s, for the Joker. So, I mean, yeah, it's heavy on the villains, but there are some really iconic type books that are not, because there's not as much attention as there is on Marvel. There's some DC stuff. I'm not saying that, there's some kind of cool spec, stuff if you wanted to look at DC. Whereas I feel, it seems like everyone's in on Marvel, whereas they're kind of, they're sleeping on DC a little bit. I like looking at that old stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, you can argue that the Batman has the best rogues gallery of villains, or it's at least up there. You know what I mean?
It's up there with Spider-Man. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from a depth perspective, like just icons on the villain side. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, and the really old DC stuff I find really, really cool, almost like historic. The old Superman, the old Batman stuff. To me, it's like American history, not just comic books.
Yep.
And the cards as well. I mean, Marvel had some older issue type cards, but nothing that dates back like some of the DC stuff. On his avatar, the gentleman who asked the question, he had a Joker tasty bread card, and I have a Penguin tasty here in my hand. This is just pretty. I just thought it was cool looking. Like, these old cards look really, really cool, and the old comics look really, really cool, whether it's Marvel or DC. But I just feel like, with Batman and Superman being big household names, if you ask your grandma who Superman or Batman is, she knows. She might not know who Wolverine is, but we think Wolverine is awesome. So it's like, but as far as household name goes for those two, you can even touch on Wonder Woman a little bit. I get that sounded bad, but Wonder Woman could also, be one of those as well. I feel, DC, has always felt dated to me. So that's why the old stuff seems cool, because it's supposed to be dated. But now that things are a little bit modern, it still feels dated, like behind the curve, like behind Marvel. And of course, Neo talked about the marketing machine of Marvel, which is huge for its brand and for its characters and stories.
Switching over to, I assume this is a sports card related question. What do you guys think 2022 sports card, when Spidey obviously won't make you answer sports cards questions, but do you think we've hit the, are we at the floor-ish? I know I always hesitate to say we are at the floor, this is it, but eventually we got to hit it, right? I mean, I'll go Dustin first because Steve's playing his game.
Of course, this is kind of like, which cards are we talking about and which cards, because I think that the answer is going to be, sort of or maybe. And it's going to be like, you have to assume that there's some things that kind of overcorrected and, and maybe not, but there's probably going to be some things I would guess this year that bounce back. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I was watching a kind of an interesting, was it Sports Cards Live, but Brian Gray, the CEO of Leaf, was talking about how he was buying base cards in droves, just loads and loads of base, because no one's buying it. And now it's, the prices for all the base stuff is all, it's gone way down because everybody wants rare stuff, scarce stuff. So obviously he thinks that there's going to be some sort of a bounce back to some degree at some point down the line. So I don't know. I think that's kind of the fun part to watch. Is I do think that there will be a rebound. It's just the question is going to be with what, with which part,
Go ahead, Steve.
Like bottom, is there? So you're saying bottoming out on ultra modern basketball right now is kind of the question.
I mean, just in general. Baseball's been flat, but they have a labor dispute hanging over it. Football's in a weird spot because most of the teams just got sent packing. But basketball is the one sport, other than football, that's still going, that has seen taken the biggest hit probably over the last 60 days, 60, 90 days.
It's going to be yes and no, just depending on the player. Do I think there's some players out there that just may not be able to get any lower because barring catastrophic injury, they will, I'm not referring to Zion. I'm just saying barring something catastrophic, these players look like they're surefire stars. Jason Tatum always comes to mind for me because I'm a Celtics fan.
Yep.
Is Jason Tatum at his all-time low because the Celtics are playing bad? He's still averaging 25 points a game. The Celtics are playing bad, so people aren't talking about him. It's not that he's not a talented player in a great big market for people who collect cards. At what point, being in a market like he's in, do you say his cards are bottom out? And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have like a Zion. His cards are in purgatory right now because some people believe that he's going to come back and play well. Some people believe that he's done. And that's a fair assessment from either person. I'm not here to make that decision for anybody. But Zion necessarily hasn't hit his floor because if he never plays again, there's going to be a new floor established. Believe that. But if he comes back and puts up 40 points in his first game, there's going to be a run up on his cards. Now, is it a crazy run up? I don't know. There will be interest in his cards, though. There's still interest in his cards because he's such, an anomaly right now. We don't know which way to go with it. You're either in or you're out. And his play, whatever happens with his injuries, we'll change that. So have I been buying some modern basketball cards? Yes, I have. Is it as fun as buying Marvel cards right now? No. I like the Marvel cards better because I don't have to, I don't, like you said, maybe safe. I don't have to worry about injuries on Marvel cards. I don't have to worry about performance. I just have to be like, man, when's the next movie coming out? So it's like, and it's cool. But again, one card in particular, the Jason Tatum Optic Holo. I'm going to talk about this because Dustin's here, and I know Dustin likes that card.
Get the pumps out. Get the pumps out.
I'm still looking for
I don't want this card. I don't want this card to go up right now.
Thanks for bringing it up,
because I'm a believer in Jason. Because I like Jason Tatum. He's on the Celtics.
Steve and I are the only ones still bidding on those.
Well, you remember this was a $700 card last year
Yeah.
You know, around the national. Coming out of the national, it was a $700 card. Going into the season, we saw it at $1,100 selling. Now we see it as low as I just picked one up on Whatnot for $400.
Gotta get the checkerboard, boys.
On a Whatnot auction.
I'm going to ruin this
So-
for myself, and Steve, I know you're also watching these, but there's two Optic Hollows that end in 1 day and 1 hour, and they're right at 255 and 227.
Yeah, I haven't looked at them, but I was on Whatnot, and actually, I said this in my live drive. Sasha T was doing a Whatnot auction, and that's actually who I bought it off of.
Oh, really?
I did a deal with Sasha, guys, for a huge card. Jason Tatum Optic Hollow for $400.
Your thumbnail could have been incredible.
I should have made it into a vlog, man. You know how many views that would have got?
You should have edited that so it looked like you two were standing in front of a table at like the Dallas.
It would
Card
have
Show or
it
something.
would have gotten tons of views because it's a deal going down with Sasha. Then it would have got tons of dislikes because people were like, "Oh, what a letdown." All hype. NBA Modern.
I mean, to Steve's point, you know, he's been buying Marvel cards. The last I have a mail day video coming out this week. All four of them, all four items in that mail day are all Marvel related. It's 2 comic books and 2 Marvel card sets. Like that's my mail day.
I've been buying that Vibranium set. And I don't
Now,
know if Spidey
ooh,
likes
On
it
that
or
note,
not, but
Nia,
I
Rob,
do.
are you taking a break from? Oh, go ahead, Spidey. Go ahead.
No, I'm just reacting to he said vibranium. It's got some rookie cards in it.
Steve's pumping Vibranium hard.
I don't even know. I just like the way they look, and they're all serial numbers. So, and like these
Hey,
reds
they're-
are like $10 a card for like reds numbered out of 299 that look awesome.
They're kind of the closest thing to a top scroll of a Marvel comic card, right?
Yeah, like a
It's got-
prism.
It's got Miles Morales in it. That's his first year of a Marvel card. Miles Morales, big deal.
Mhm.
Spidey Gwen, first year. Jane
Mhm.
Foster as Thor, first year. And they got number cards, and all the way down to 5, and they look great. I think they'll grade great. I think it's awesome.
A question for you then, because I just bought these because I like them.
Mhm.
Captain America, Sam Wilson, is that his first card, or has he got one prior to that?
Ooh, he is Captain America in that set.
So I have the cracked ice version here, which is called Refined. It's numbered out of 99, and then I have the Radiance version here, which is numbered out of 50. And these,
Steve, I haven't even thought about that, but I think
I'm
you're
not
right.
sure if that's his first. It does say Captain America on the card,
Yeah.
and he's in the Captain America mantle, but I just don't know if it's his first Captain America.
There may be a Rittenhouse that has him as Captain America, but that's going to be the first numbered card of him as
Okay,
Captain
well,
America.
because this is a 2015 card,
Mhm.
and then this Precious Metal Gems is a 2015 also, but he's Falcon.
He's
So
Falcon, that's right.
I don't know.
Well, Vibranium was meant to be more of a modern set of what was going on in the comic books at that time.
Okay.
That's why
Okay,
Peter
okay.
Parker Spider-Man is not in the base set. Miles Morales is.
Yeah, I've seen the Miles. The Miles is expensive.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I've
Speaking-
seen-
Massive Marvel card collector backstream or backstage. He chose
Uh-oh.
violence today in his video.
Yeah, I love
Dakota.
Marvel cards. Marvel is
That's not.
what's I don't
Dakota
know.
got so pissed he went and got a haircut.
Yeah, man, I got so angry. My wife was like, "You got to get a haircut. You can't be getting angry with all that hair. You get too sweaty."
Man
I
of
must
the
have missed it. What was
Pikachus.
it?
I just said I don't give a f about what's that
You
one
can swear,
place
it's
call?
fine.
PSA. That's all. So.
Oh, yeah,
gotcha.
yeah.
Well, it was all
I saw
grading
that one.
companies, to be fair.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Look,
Yeah,
98%
everyone
of
thought it
what
was
I have is
PSA
wrong.
only.
I enjoy it.
He said Dustin and I were idiots for making PSA news videos.
Yeah. That foreshadows tomorrow morning's video for both me and
Yeah, are y'all ready for Pokemon, right? We're talking Pokemon now. Let's go. Charizard to the moon, baby.
I saw you make one pump and dump Pokemon video, and you haven't made a Pokemon video since. So what's
I made 2. I said that Pokemon is the best long-term investment out there in the collectible market, and I will continue to buy sealed Pokemon once a month, $200 worth every month. That's it. It's not an exciting play, but it's one I'm going to keep doing. So
So at the Golden Auction last weekend, sports hit record highs, Marvels hit record highs, and then Charizard sold for less,
Did
right?
not. Yeah. Those are.
Oh,
that's why it's time to buy Pokemon.
That's why it's time to
We
buy.
all know
That's
buy
exactly
low,
right.
sell high. It's simple economics, guys. Come on, this is
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah. 'Cause
I mean, it's the number one concise brand in the world. It's worth like $108 billion. So
That's what they say. Yeah.
Oh, Hector has a good question. The reverse. So we've talked about how, comic book collectors could get into the cards, but what about card collectors getting into comics? So kind of like the reverse.
I mean, I'll just say there's a reason why I've spent most of November, December, and January locking in as many key issues as I possibly could get my hands on. That's my general. I mean,
and my last couple live streams, I've had Kenny on, and you've been on with us too, Neo. Kenny Fornos has been on, who's strictly a vlogger and really into the sports cards, and he's crossed into the Marvel card market. And last time he was on with us, when we went off the air, he actually was like, "Oh, by the way, I picked up like 6 comic books. I'm really starting to get into these." So there you go. There's someone else who's in the sports card market that had an attachment to Marvel, whether it be through the movies or whatever, that now is like, whoa, where's the foundation of this? And these books are really cool.
Yeah, it's the historical relevance, like what you were talking about with some of those, like the Golden Age stuff. The fact that like the Joker goes back to the 40s is kind of crazy. If you think about it, that's a long time, for that villain. And he's still going to be around in 50 years. But yeah. I agree with you, Steve. And
like with me, it's Doctor Strange, like I've said, and I have a Doctor Strange red PMG here, but my Strange Tales 169 is still my favorite Doctor Strange item that I own, because the artwork. I love the cover. I love how he's standing there. I love how it's his first solo title. It's a nice grade. It looks good. It displays well. That's my favorite Doctor Strange item that I have. So yeah, I own a PMG. The PMG is not my favorite item.
Did you just want that green a pretty face? Is that
if I'd have won the green PMG, I might be telling a different story. No, I'm just kidding. I do have a blue 2015 Doctor Strange PMG coming in the mail. The one where he's sitting and he's got his arms expanded.
Yeah, I love that one.
So yeah, we'll see how that looks when it comes to grade.
Now, Spidey, you're obviously a big Marvel card guy. Were you into the comics first and then jumped in the cards, or were you a Marvel card guy and jumped into the comics, or was it just all the Marvel?
Yeah, so I was a kid. I was Marvel cards and then comics, and then as an adult, it was comics and then cards. And I'm still buying comic books. I bought 40 of them this weekend, to be honest with you. I'm working on finishing off my Silver Surfer run, the 1 through 18, and I'm really, really close to being done with that. But long term, I think, in terms of like what's going to be the most collectible, I think it's going to actually end up being original art first, then comic books, and then Marvel cards follow behind that. Especially, you can actually get some original art in Marvel cards. But to me, I think comic books is going to be this generation's art. That's what we want on our wall, right? That's our Picasso, so to speak.
I got a question for you guys too, just kind of with Disney owning Marvel, and this is a little bit of a sidebar, but there's also a ton of interest in like old vintage Disney stuff and like Disney art, going back to the origins of Disney. Do you guys have any interest in that stuff? That's obviously like outside the box a little bit, but I don't know. That's also kind of historical, and will be relevant down the road.
I don't, but I wasn't a big Disney cartoon. I mean, I watched it as a kid growing up, but like I don't have any historical ties to that, whereas I do from Marvel. So
right, yeah,
it just comes down to that for me.
Yeah, that would be straight like investor thing that you think is kind of cool, But yeah, I'm with you. I don't have like a nostalgia Disney thing.
I mean, I have my Walt Disney card that I like. It's one of my favorite items. So, sometimes you make the mistake of taking your PC items with you to a card show, and because you just want to kind of show them off. And I did that last card show, and it seemed like people wanted to buy the stuff that I didn't want to sell. And I was getting good offers, and it was so hard to not sell that Walt Disney card. But I'm just like, I'll never get another one at the price that I got this one at. And I remember when I bought it, the main reason I bought it was to show it to my daughter and my wife, because they're huge Disney fans. And I was like, I'm going to get this in the mail and be like, oh, you guys think cards aren't cool? How about this? But, and now it's just kind of like, I can't get rid of it. So I don't want to get rid of it. That's what I mean by can't. There's people who have pursued that card off of me, but it's got a story now.
Dakota, as the lone, I don't really deal with any of this Marvel shenanigans. And I know that we've briefly talked about you potentially. You even actually tried to buy a comic book. And I know
I
that
was
you're
looking
both-
at one in particular. I do have like one favorite superhero, and I was
And then
like,
you
You
threw
buying
up
a comic book? Next thing you know, Neo's going to be submitting to SGC. Good lord.
It's like Dakota tried to buy a comic book, then he threw up and ordered the Pokemon stuff instead.
yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, Dakota's like, I'm buying a comic book, guys, and then Dakota's waking up. Neo's waking up the next morning. Okay, I got to one up Dakota today. What can I do? Let's put in an SGC order, boys.
I mean, do you have? I mean, obviously, you know, your non-sport thing seems to be the Pikachu's. I mean, do you have any interest or appeal besides, like, you know, maybe getting like a nice Boba Fett cover or something, like on the comic book side at all?
No.
Just a nice Boba to hang on the wall in the back. That's about it.
Literally, if I didn't have YouTube, I wouldn't even consider getting what I would like is a Punisher comic, either Punisher
that's
or
right,
Boba.
Punisher.
Those are the two. Those are my favorites. And with the Boba series out, I'm like, I love it. And you know, Hawkeye's another one of my favorites. But whatever. I was just literally without YouTube, I wouldn't even consider it. I only considered it because it's a showpiece that can go behind me.
Oh,
That's it.
okay.
So Dakota, are you aware that Disney just changed Punisher's chest emblem? From
No, I
the
didn't know.
skull-
Well, as long as they keep the actor, because he was phenomenal. That's all I care about is that they keep that guy. He's
I
Yeah,
think
this is
they
more
will.
of a comic book thing than the on-screen thing.
oh yeah.
Well,
Um,
they couldn't trademark it, and then it had a lot of stuff around it, so
Because it's
anybody
a
could
skull.
use it because they couldn't trademark it. So they changed it to a logo that they could trademark.
Chat says if you get in the comic books, then you could give hot takes on the CGC versus CBCS grading wars on the comic side.
I'm gonna be on CGC side. I'm a big CGC CSG supporter. So
Well, they might grade Marvel cards one day, so there you go. There. Did you ever?
Yeah.
I have another hot take question. Not a hot take question. Another non-sports card question for you. Did you ever pull the trigger on your Boba Fett Star Wars auto?
no, I have gone on. I can't wait to do videos about this. I haven't figured out how to do them yet, but I have gone on the biggest football rabbit hole that anyone could ever imagine. I mean, it's bigger than
Isn't
anyone
that
can
Tuesday
imagine.
for you?
Yeah, that's the average Tuesday, but I mean, this is more so, man. I don't know. I really got some big ideas for sports cards moving forward, and there's some great stuff out there that's pennies on the dollar, in my opinion. So that's where
And
all
you
my
did that
money's going.
video. You did that video on football inserts, like your top 10, the ones that you like, no particular order. And I'm watching that. I was actually out of town, so I'm in a hotel room watching that, and I'm like, okay, as soon as this video is over, I'm going to go see if any of these are listed because I've been influenced.
Yeah, man, and I have a ton more. I've been looking at high-end inserts from the 2010s, which kind of interesting. I'm not going to spill anything. In fact, I'm not going to say anything. This is
You
going to be
just showed
great
those
content.
Zenith, like those Zenith Z teams, and I remember back then how awesome they were and how hard they were to get, and not being able to afford Dan Marino in that set because he always set the price. Marino always kind of set the price for those sets, and I was like, man, it was the nostalgia. And not only that, the cards do look awesome. I remember being like, man, the Zenith Pinnacle put out some nice products back then.
And just fair warning to anyone out there, you can buy Pinnacle boxes for cheap as crap, but don't, because the only thing they're good for is building up a wall inside your house because they just brick like nobody's business. So don't buy those boxes.
The totally certified set was nice. I think every card was serial numbered, and they started in like blue and went red and gold, and they were just base cards, but they were base cards that were serial numbered.
Totally certified was awesome. You'll like this, Steve. I just got today I bought a select certified PSA 8 artist proof Dan Marino for like $35 or something. I was like, okay.
What you trying to do, man?
Sorry, man. I was going to try to trade it to you. I was hoping
You got my
to
you got my PO box. It's still the same.
Dakota, I'll go around the horn on this one. Spidey, you could chime in on this if you want. Super Bowl prediction or AFC NFC Championship prediction.
Well,
AFC,
I mean,
like who's going to be in the AFC?
Who's in the
Championship
Super
game?
Bowl?
Man, Super Bowl is hard, man. So my three favorite teams out of the AFC are probably Bengals, Chiefs, Bills. I'm going to put my money on the Bills, and out of the NFC, I'm just going to run it back with the Bucks, and I'd pick probably the Bills to win.
Interesting. So stock up on Josh Allen, you're saying?
Well, I have a lot of Josh Allen, so I just have to keep in a positive mindset.
Dustin?
I'm going to say I'm going to be boring on the AFC side, and I'm going to say the Chiefs. But I think that Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are finally going to get over the hump and get to the Super Bowl and lose. in the Super Bowl. But I think they're finally going to get over the hump. I think the Bucks, while it's Tom Brady, and of course I'll probably eat the words, but they've just had so much weird turmoil. Now playoff Tom will probably show up, but it just wouldn't surprise me if the Packers make it happen at Lambeau.
Steve?
Man, I got to change my picks now. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to go with the Chiefs probably out of the AFC only because I don't like putting my stock in Josh Allen to win me a big game. He's a great quarterback, but I still think he's reckless. Just it's like look how he runs with the ball sometimes. And then, you know, the Bengals are great. I just don't think they're there yet. And in fact, from someone's cards that I want to buy, I don't want them to be there yet. And then,
yeah.
And then in the NFC, I do like the Packers. Looking at home field throughout, I believe Rodgers is still playing MVP caliber football. I don't trust LaFleur that much, but I never have because I've always had Aaron Jones as like a fantasy running back, and they don't give him the ball enough. And then the Rams intrigue me though. It just depends on what level their defense is playing at, and if Stafford can limit his mistakes. But they have the talent. But I'm going to go Packers Chiefs, and I'm actually going to call the Packers on this one just because I think Rodgers outplays Mahomes.
Well, if the Rams get Cam Akers back and he's healthy and they can run the ball, I think they really do have a chance with that defense if they can really step up. And if Matthew Stafford, he just fell off the last 4 or 5 games.
Yeah.
You know,
the Rams are definitely legit. I wouldn't be surprised. That's why I kind of put them right there. And I wouldn't be surprised.
Running game, they, you know, Cooper Kupp, third down, big moment, you know, definitely. I get the Packer pick, especially with home field advantage. Having to go up to Lambeau is tough, but there's no way I'm betting against Tom Brady until he retires. And I don't like him. I'm a New Orleans Saints fan, so don't care for the Bucs.
Oh, yeah. All
but,
right.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, Spidey.
Well, I live in Louisiana with you, so.
Nice.
Yeah. Now, from
the Rams stole our hearts again this year. All they had to do was just finish out a game. Anyway, don't even get me started.
Yeah, and on the AFC
bourbon
side,
in this coffee mug.
Yeah, on the you know when you're talking about playoffs, you got to talk about quarterbacks and defense. The Chiefs' defense was doing great, but you know they fell off that. They looked bad against the Bengals, but a lot of people did there in the last 3 or 4 games. So I'd have to go AFC as the Chiefs, although I would love to watch Joe Burrow throw football in the Super Bowl.
I agree.
I think Packers on the NFC side it's definitely the chalk, and I'm kind of there too. I think the AFC side is more wide open. I don't know who it's going to be, but I don't think it's the Chiefs. I think they've been playing better, but that team just doesn't feel like they're optimal form like they once were. Someone said Titans in the chat earlier. If Derrick Henry actually was back, I mean, I know that he's back, but like if he's back, that's like an interesting dark horse candidate.
Well, they've been running the ball anyways.
Yeah, that's a fair point. So I don't know who I would throw out there for the AFC. I just don't feel like it's going to be the Chiefs. I feel like it's going to be somebody else. I would love to say the Bengals, but I just don't think they're ready yet. I think this is their, hey, we're here, and then next year is like their year potentially. I'm continuing on the football thing. I'll throw this. We'll go around the horn again, and once again, Spidey, you don't have to answer this because it's going to be more sports card related. But if you want to dive in, feel free. Do you think we see a Herbert dip, Dakota? Or do you think he kind of goes like the route of Juan Soto, had that really good game, didn't finish, but had big numbers, everyone loves him? Do we see an offseason Herbert dip?
If we see a Herbert dip, the hobby's full of fools.
So if it dips, you'd be buying, though you don't flip cards anymore. But for the
I hold for the long term though, and I like Herbert long term. Look, part of the issue with 2020 and now 2021, we're going to have to talk about is card quality and card selection, and it's a huge issue. You got to be real picky about the crap that you're picking up out of these 2 years. I love the Herbert and Burrow both. I think long term, man, they may actually both be better than Mahomes, and people may be losing their mind that I just said that, but Mahomes was gifted a lot and won a Super Bowl. If he doesn't win another one, he's going to look like a failure. History will see him as a failure.
Dustin?
So I'm going to say yes to both a Herbert and a Joe Burrow dip. And the reason is I think it's going to be the Shaquille O'Neal 92 effect of production. I think it's just going to be that there's so many different parallels and so many different rookie cards for these guys that there's going to be, like right now you have a set amount of graded cards. I think there's going to be a truckload of graded cards that come out for all these guys. And I think that's going to be what waters it down. Not that they're not talented, not that they're not good, and they could be legends in their own right. I just think it's going to come down to too many options, because I just think Panini has really pushed the envelope, especially when we talk about Select, with all the different parallels. Prism, is not a whole lot different. And then all the other sets. I mean, I don't know. I just think it's really, really diluted. I think there's still going to be like good values and good stuff, but I just think that's why I think that prices are going to come down, because populations are going to go up on PSA 10s and PSA 9s.
Steve?
As far as demand goes, I think demand will still be strong. So, but if we're talking about prices, you can definitely relate it to what Dustin just said, because there is a lot of options out there for people, even more so than a Shaq 92. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That stuff was printed into the ground, but you had less sets.
Right.
You had less parallels. People will gravitate to, whether it's color match or low print run or tiger stripe, elephant butt, whatever they're making nowadays. But I mean, there are some parallels that have had hobby longevity, like the tie-dyes, certain ones like that are also low serial number. But then again, you're really looking at a really low print run card that's going to be hard to really establish a market to say whether or not they dip or not. From a demand standpoint, I don't think either one of those players dip from people wanting their stuff. However, with so many options out there, it might actually just counterbalance it to where it causes it to stay even, as opposed to a supply and demand issue that would drive them up.
Spidey, I know you're a big Burrow guy, but
I do, and I actually have a thought. So if you're thinking about the amount of money that's going to be chasing Burrow now, especially if he performs in the playoffs, I would imagine there's some type of dip, especially in comparison to Burrow, because they've been, those cards have been pretty equal to one another, right, over the last couple of years. There shouldn't be a dip.
Herbert was hotter, and then Burrow kind of caught up this year. They flip-flopped.
But Herbert didn't lose that game. I mean, it was a throw at the end of that game where I think it was a third down for a touchdown or conversion or something like that. He certainly played well. So, I mean, I understand why there might be a dip, but it won't be because he didn't perform.
Yeah. I mean, do we see a little bit of a Herbert dip? I don't think it's going to be major, but it's kind of like even to Dakota's point, like he'd be buying because he's so good. And I don't disagree with that at all. But, the markets are cyclical. So I think he could dip just a little teeny tiny bit. Regardless of what happens, I said this before. I think when we're at the National in Atlantic City, I think Herbert and Burrow are going to be the two players that everybody wants. I don't know that their prices are going to be higher than they are today. They could be less. They could be more. I just know that they'll be liquid as all get out at the National.
And one other guy, Jameis Winston.
Oh, yeah. I was going to bring that up too, Neo. I was going to say, ask yourself this question. Who do you see moving at the National, coming out of the National next year, heading into the football season? Which 3 to 5 quarterbacks is everybody asking about? And then that's where you want to put your stock if you're looking to sell in the short term.
I want to know from Rob, are you doubling and tripling down on Baker? Because I feel like as a Browns fan, this is you almost have to. It's almost like, you know what? He's coming back.
First off, I feel attacked.
No, I mean, I have Baker. I'm also a Browns fan. That's my AFC team, my in-laws. You know that.
So initially I was very intrigued because some of his really nice auto stuff was going for very cheap. But I honestly didn't think they were going to keep him. And then it came out yesterday. I mean, obviously this could change. It could be a smokescreen. But it sounds like they're going to bring him back for his 5th year. I don't want to be the one to say this, but he is in a very interesting buy. Absolutely. His stuff's not getting any cheaper. I think someone had said that his RPAs are selling for less than Trubisky's RPAs or something crazy like that. But that's because some YouTube influencer was pumping Trubisky to the moon in his purple fairy dress.
I don't know who that was.
Yeah, me neither. some guy that likes purple or something.
And here's the other thing: your best bargain right now is probably going to be who out of this year's draft class, this large quarterback draft class that we just had, that most of them kind of fell kind of flat, at least underperformed to expectation. Who out of that class is the person that you like? Because right now, or after this season, you're probably going to be able to get at discounted prices. And those are the ones, when someone doesn't have expectations and then they exceed them, that's when you see your biggest margins, because there's not a lot of baked in goodness. So coming off of letdown seasons,
I think the biggest issue with that is, like, right now I would be dumping money into Trevor Lawrence, but what card can you buy?
Yeah,
they're not out there. And then so the time that you can buy Trevor Lawrence, this whole little dip phase for him has passed. Late March, people are going to be wanting to buy him again already. Sorry, go ahead, Neo.
I was just saying, you're not even getting Prism Silvers till the end of March.
Exactly. And then do you want graded? Do you want raw? Because if you want graded, you're looking at what, June's the earliest you're going to buy. So you talk about Herbert and Burrow being hot at the National. Look out for Trevor Lawrence, Trey Fields, and Trey Lance and Justin Fields, because that's going to be like the first time people can buy those cards.
And this draft coming up is not quarterback strong. So
it's bad. It's horrible.
What about Mac Jones?
It depends on what he does in the playoffs. If they're almost winning in spite of him. He's like an advanced game manager, in my opinion.
So I got a question. What if the Cowboys do well in the playoffs? I know that's not going to happen, but like, what if Dak makes it to the Super Bowl? What happens to his stuff?
If they make it to the Super Bowl, it'll keep. Usually, what happens in football is the teams keep winning. Their stuff goes up every week, and then pretty much regardless whether they win or lose, it goes right back down again. It might set a new floor. Other than Tom Brady, he's the only one that's immune to this.
You have to understand.
Even Mahomes, when Mahomes won the Super Bowl, his stuff went down like the next day.
Wow.
It's a little bit different, Neo, with Dallas. If Dallas wins a Super Bowl, Dak's not coming back. The Dallas sports card fan base is stronger than probably any American team of the three major sports.
They are America's team, right? You know what they say?
Exactly. And hey, look, in sports cards, the prices prove it. If you really think Dak's going to win the Super Bowl, like, obviously I know you're not saying that, Spidey, but I'm just saying, like, if someone did think that, like, that's probably about as good as bet as just like putting a straight bet in Vegas. Dallas sports cards are Cowboys sports cards are super hot. Always.
And I don't even, what has Dak's like optics or like Prism Silver moved at all? I haven't looked at his prices in forever.
I was just thinking, since he's coming off an injury-ridden year, they kind of have an up and down season, but they're in the playoffs. They have a good team. What if he performs well? What might be the upside?
His stuff always seemed reasonably priced given the numbers that he put up when he was healthy.
His stuff has been unreasonably high compared to his peers in that 2016. Now, his peers is Carson Wentz. I know everyone's going to joke about that. Yeah. But, when you look at what they had accomplished, Dak's cards are always like 2.5, 3 times more than Wentz. It's actually really low right now. His PSA 10 silver is at just under $600, but it's got spikes of 1,300.
Your camera cut out, Dakota?
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
I hope if the Cowboys
I can hear you loud and clear, but
Roger Staubach rookies get a little bump. Oh, Roger.
Sorry, I have eBay watch list things ending that I keep glancing down at my iPad to see what is going on with those.
I think Dak's cards are already priced where they're at due to the market that he's in. I believe if he wasn't in Dallas, his cards are probably 25% less of the value that they're at right now. I think being in Dallas actually gives him a good 20 to 25% kick into his prices, just like playing for the Yankees.
Do we think, and I'll start with Dakota again on this one and go around the horn. Do you think the off-season market peaks at the draft again? Last year it did. And I know last year was a different year. You know what I mean? There was a lot of oddball shit going on last year, but.
Come back to me. Let me answer that not first.
Okay, that's fine. Steve, or Dustin, that's fine.
Yeah, I guess my thought would be is when does Prism come out? Like when does, kind of like what Dakota was talking about earlier, we have
March 26th.
Okay, so March 26th, you're going to get Trevor Lawrence Prism cards and all the rest of it. I don't know, and I have to assume that there's probably going to be some excitement around that stuff. And then of course, then you get it graded. People are going to rush to get that stuff graded, the silver prisms and all that. I don't know.
I guess I'm thinking more like like when does like a Herbert, Burrow, like established players, obviously we don't know what they're going to do in the playoffs, but maybe not necessarily the incoming rookie class, but
Yeah, that's kind of a tricky one.
like
Because
Baker Mayfield peaked in May. Most guys peaked in May last year.
Yeah, because I know I keep talking about like the backlog, with like PSA, but unless you're doing quick, express turnaround stuff, I assume that there's going to be more supply of that coming up this year for that stuff. I remember when we were in Dallas. Remember all the Justin Herbert stuff that was at the Dallas show in May of last year? I felt like it was like the Justin Herbert show. And that was, we're going to talk about a whole nother year after that. Yeah, I don't know. That's tough. I don't have a great answer for it.
We'll go to Steve, and then I'll throw it back to Dakota since he's had time to marinate.
Yeah, I think it depends on. I think cards will move depending on which players are drafted where and off-season moves and coaching hires. Speaking from a Miami Dolphins fan, if they hire a big offensive coach, if they draft a big offensive weapon, or if they acquire a weapon, do you see Tua cards get a little heat? Probably. Just because people are going to be like, oh, well, now he's with an offensive-minded coach, and they signed, say, a big free agent wide receiver or traded for somebody. He's traded away some of their draft picks for something, You saw that with Drew Lock card shot to the moon when they drafted Jerry Jeudy. Dak Prescott card shot to the moon when they drafted CeeDee Lamb. So Kyler Murray card shot when DeAndre Hopkins was signed. So you kind of see that go hand in hand because people are like, okay, this is what this player / quarterback needed to put them over the top. So off-season moves and drafts can affect cards in a very short window because that stuff is only buzzy for a very limited amount of time. So I can see it causing small ripple, not as big as it used to because the market as a whole doesn't spike like it did. But especially among its fan base. Okay, we signed this player. This is the year. Everybody buys with their heart at some point or another. And so you'll definitely see it, even if it's just fans buying their cards now because they believe more in a player. Like, I'm not a big Tua guy. I'm a Miami fan, not a big Tua person. Would I buy a Tua card if they landed a top-notch receiver and a offensive-minded head coach? I might, just to stash it. And if people have that mentality, it'll drive the market.
All right, Dakota.
I think the guys that are going to move teams will spike when they move, as per usual. I think the young guys with a lot of hype, Burrow and Herbert, will spike. I think their highest prices in the offseason will be in August. I think the shitty quarterbacks like Baker Mayfield and Tua, for the most part, stay pretty low, but they probably see a little bit of a spike probably in August. I don't know that we're going to see this big spike in March again or in April. I don't know. It's so hard. It's so difficult this year. I think we see a move back more towards normalcy. And I think a lot of it honestly has to do with the fact that Prism's not coming out till late March. And that's a lot of money that's going to go to Trevor Lawrence and that stuff, but it pumps a lot of money. Maybe it pumps a lot of money out of the football card market because people are spending money on Trevor Lawrence and those guys, and who knows with the people who receive that money where they go. I don't know. It's a hard one. The one thing I feel pretty good about is that the guys who get moved, the Jimmy G's of the world, they'll spike when they get moved. That's about it.
I think Burrow does have a chance to spike earlier because, and someone could please correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the Bengals have like a metric ton of cap space. So they could be splashy in free agency, and that could potentially cause him to jump like sooner rather than later if they come out or making a bunch of moves, like a completely revamped offensive line or a bunch of new defensive talent, whatever. Just the team being in the news, signing big free agents, I think maybe could cause them to spike earlier. But I could be wrong on that. But I do agree it gets back to, I think, the days of, stuff 10xing in a day because of a Woj tweet or whoever. Pick your sport reporter breaking news on a trade is a different world.
If the Bengals draft or sign 3 good offensive linemen and Burrow's cards don't move, that's a buy opportunity. They need offensive linemen. You put all
that's when the second mortgage comes out on your house to go all in.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Bengals definitely spend some cap space on defense. I mean, unless someone like Tyler Boyd becomes a free agent, which I'm not sure. Their last 2 drafts they spent on T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. So their wide receiver core is young and as talented as anybody. Their offensive line came around this year because they got some veterans back. They could use offensive line help, but who can't? Send some of that Miami's way. But so I don't look for them to make the sexy moves, for lack of a better term. The blockbuster. Okay, you sign an offensive lineman, that's not going to make the headlines. But if you sign a big wide receiver, it is. Unless you sign a defensive name, the caliber of like the name, and he's not the same caliber player as he used to be, like a J.J. Watt that actually did boost Kyler Murray's prices when they signed J.J. Watt this year, because everybody was all of a sudden was like, oh, they have a defense now. They're going to the Super Bowl. So, but again, unless it's a big name like that, I don't see defensive signings and offensive lineman signings moving the needle for the quarterbacks. The other thing, with the Prism product coming out so late, one thing that helps that, if there was a strong quarterback class this year, people would be on to the next thing. They would be on to, okay, quarterback A. Oh, quarterback A just got drafted. I got to go out and buy his whatever product it is. I got to buy his Pro Set. I got to buy his Leaf. I got to buy this. I got to buy that. You're not going to have the craze chase. You're not going to have the chase this year in this year's draft. So people still have time to chase last year's quarterbacks. They're not old news because there's no new news. If there was new news, this year's draft class would be old news.
What was I going to say? Oh, a couple things. There's multiple questions tying, Panini, Fanatics, the Prism late release. I kind of want to try to tie those all into one. My general take last week when I made the Prism video about it being delayed was I feel like Panini saved us from ourselves. Could you imagine, like, Trevor Lawrence was so hyped coming into the season.
Mm-hmm.
What his stuff would have sold, like what would his Prism Silver have sold for if it came out on time in the mid-fall compared to what is it going to sell for, April 1st? And then, how do you think Panini even cares to get things back on schedule, or are they more concerned about pumping out as much product as they possibly can? And I'll start with Steve here. Spidey, if you want to jump in on any of these at all, feel free. I don't want to make you go too outside your lane and get yourself into trouble. But if you have something you want to tie into it, feel free to throw your hand up and jump in. But I'll throw to Steve here first.
Oh, they're still going to pump their product out. That's why Prism's so late. They could have been like, hey, we're going to trim the fat. We're going to cut out some of these irrelevant products, and we're going to get Prism out. We're going to get our flagship brand out, our flagship card. But they didn't. They still rolled out all the usual suspects, junk, not junk. And here we are still talking about Prism not being out till the NFL draft, or a month before, whenever the draft is.
It's so wild to me that it's not going to come out until basically the NFL draft. That you're
is the delay due to paper shortage?
It's basketball too.
So it's their whole, to just generally speak, it's their whole line. Every sport got delayed early on because of COVID. I don't think it has anything to do with the paper shortage, because they're definitely not slowing down printing shit. They're just printing shit.
Well, according to Marvel, their delays have been because of paper shortage.
Panini definitely doesn't have a paper shortage. I think a lot of us on this panel wish they had a paper shortage in some degrees. They could easily cut out products.
Marvel has a delay because Panini printed all the paper. Got it.
You're probably not wrong there. But essentially, things got thrown off because of all the various different pandemic stuff, and then they just never got back on track. And it appears they have no interest in getting back on track. Go ahead, Dustin, if you have some hot takes you want to throw in here.
I don't know. I mean, do you think that they really don't, or do you think that they just can't? Do you think that they don't care? Or you think that they're just struggling along with like Upper Deck? Because like Upper Deck didn't release like hockey sets because they just couldn't get it out. I don't know. I don't know that stuff, the supply chain stuff. I'm trying to figure out how much of that is just talk, and then how much of it is legit.
I mean, I'm sure we're not seeing the full picture, and there's more going on that we definitely don't understand from a logistics standpoint. But it feels like they could have, did we need Flux basketball? Did we need, some of these random mid-tier basketball products that have been coming out? We still We still don't have LaMelo Ball, Anthony Edwards flawless. That comes out at the end of January.
Yeah, that's
like we're
wild.
still getting that draft class in basketball, and we're at the trade deadline in the NBA, and we have product coming out with the current rookie class in it. So you're going to have hoops already on the market, and I think Don Russ on the market before last year's flawless even comes out. And that's just on the basketball side, not even talking about the football side. I mean, it's crazy. Dakota, any rants you want to go on?
Yeah, just the usual. I disagree completely. So
No, go for it. Fire it up.
I think this is a lot of supply chain issues. I mean, like, let's just talk about Prism football. They lost money by releasing it in late March instead of mid-December. So I don't think they like want to do that. I think mostly like for football specifically, which I don't know that I really disagree with you on that one, but like I think it was a supply chain issue. I mean, there's backups across all supply chains. I don't see. I mean, Panini's not going to be exempt from that, and they're shipping from China, which has been the bulk of the backlog has been from China. And then for basketball, I still think that's the issue. I mean, they've been behind for like a year now. Now, so there's a couple things here where I would say I would disagree is because like, yeah, they're not going to just kill the product, but the issue is how long have they been working on this product, right? They can't kill it now. It's already printed in containers. So why would they kill it? You know, it doesn't make any sense. Just release it. You don't want to kill anything you've already started production on. So I think if they've killed any product, it's stuff that we weren't aware was
We don't even know that it's
they were
coming.
working on yet. Yeah.
I don't think it'd be sitting in containers because I believe they print in Texas.
Are you sure?
I don't think they print overseas.
On the back of the cards, it says like there's Chinese characters on the back of Panini cards. I always assumed it was printed in China.
But don't you think they could choose?
I could be wrong on that.
Don't you think they could choose what products they use their resources for, though? I still think that, like I said, okay, we can't get Prism out because of a shortage, but what if they were just like, hey, we're not going to print this product so that we can use what we do have to get out? Like
I could be wrong, but I think because distributors have already contractually agreed to buy it, they want to print it because they know it will be bought based on the contracts.
That makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know how that works, but that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Damn you, Spidey, with your logic.
I'm just saying. I mean, I know their corporate offices are in Texas. I thought they printed in the U.S. too, but
I only said
be
China.
right
Like
there.
I haven't read that anywhere. I noticed on the back of some cards there was Chinese characters, so I just assumed printed in China. I mean, like why else would you have Chinese characters down there?
I mean, they sell their stuff there.
I guess it could be like a branding for China. I guess I could see that. I don't know.
Yeah, because they have like all that Tmall releases and stuff. You know what I mean? Like you could go to vending machines and buy stuff in China, so they probably have to have, I don't know, maybe copyright shenanigans in the bottom of the card in Chinese. I don't know.
The flawless is stuck on a barge somewhere in the Atlantic.
Man, let me find out what ship that's on.
Hire some pirates. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the captain now.
Hey, gents, I gotta bounce, but thanks for having me on for a little bit there, Nico.
Dakota,
Dakota.
nice to meet you, man.
I look
Nice to
forward
meet
to
you,
whatever,
Spidey. Cheers, everybody else.
whatever fire takes you have dropping tomorrow.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Oh, tomorrow is top 5 Tom Brady rookies under $200. Very, very chill. Very.
Oh,
Does
we're
that
not gonna
exist?
look- not gonna
Do
look
5 of
at
those exist?
Yeah. There's actually 12 of them. Who knew? All right. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Later,
Catch you
Dakota. All right, he's gone. Marvel all the way. No, I'm just kidding. Thanks for popping on, Dakota. Go subscribe to Sports Cards Anonymous channel if you haven't. I saw Victor, the rookie card collector, pop up in chat. He also puts out some pretty solid content over on his YouTube channel as well. We'll go for just a little bit more. It is getting kind of late for me on the East Coast. I do have a work day tomorrow, unfortunately.
Bradley says some of their mid-tier product was better than their top-tier product, like Select. But I think that's always been the case. I think some of their mid-tier stuff has always been better. Like, look at products like Spectra and stuff, but it just doesn't get any hobby love. But if you look at it in comparison to, like, Prism or something, it actually seems like a better product.
Yeah, Spectre's a weird one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I like some of the stuff, but then some of this, like, I actually like the base cards and, like, the regular parallels better than I do, like, the RPAs and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's a lot of sticker autos too on some of that stuff, and I think they're a little too loud for a lot of people's tastes.
Oh yeah, sometimes they got like hot pink autos and stuff on them. But
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
like
very much a love-hate thing. It's like you either think it's
Yeah.
really cool or you absolutely hate it. Kind of like Mosaic, like modern Mosaic. I think most of us here on the panel.
But I'm talking about like the basic Spectra cards,
Yeah.
kind of.
yeah,
Yeah.
and those are tough grades too because they're thick stock cards. Like getting a 10 in that is not necessarily an easy easy take. I know where you've been spending most of your money, Steve. Marvel cards. Dustin, what besides Tatum Optic Hollows? What are you like? What's your eBay saved search lists look like? Are you like on a?
Yeah, I'm in a weird spot. Well, like usual, it's all over the place. I've got graded video games, graded comic books, and cards on the on the watch list. So it's like, but I'm in kind of a weird space where I don't know if I'm thinking too much into the the interest rate hikes, that may or may not be coming, and at what level, and how is that going to affect asset pricing. And so part of me is kind of like, do I want to just hold a little bit? And then plus I've also got like household expenses and some other things that I've got to deal with. So I've taken kind of a little bit of just a breather on the buying side until I think we get to Culture Collision. I told my wife, I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to like hold and just see, unless there's something crazy that comes across, a Tatum Hollow auction that ends at $255. We'll be bidding on that.
Not when you and Steve are bidding against each other.
Pretty much. Yeah. I was like, me and Steve are the only ones still bidding on modern basketball cards on eBay. But yeah, so I might just kind of chill and just see what happens. Cause part of me is like, is this stuff just going to be is it going to be cheaper? Like, I just don't know. So I'm in a little bit of a holding pattern.
Spidey, on the Marvel side, like as hot as that's been, have you, I could see going one of two ways with this. Either you're like, time out, prices are too high, let me sit back and relax, or I need to hurry up and buy everything I've ever wanted to buy before it gets out of my price range. Are you falling into either one? Like, where's your head at right now?
Well, I'm very clearly in the second stage of buying stuff that I don't think I'm going to get a chance to buy again in the future. And that's what my eBay, save searches includes right now. I'm a little bit with Dustin. I mean, inflation matters. Rate hike matters. It slows money down. It's designed to do that. That's the whole point. So we don't have an economy that overheats. I mean, when you start getting into wage-based inflation, it can get scary, right? Because it's a race to who pays the most to have the labor to create the stuff that you buy that you're buying with your new increased salary, and it's not healthy. How will that ultimately impact collectibles? I don't know, because collectibles is moving into a weird space, I think, or a new era would probably be a better word, which is where, historically, if you had, something of value, you had like a 401k or Roth IRA or savings bonds or whatever. Well, now people like holding something that they enjoy, that they can track the value of, and with technology and data the way it is, a lot of money is moving into collectibles. And so if that's early on and that era is going to continue to grow, I kind of want to go ahead and get the stuff that I enjoy and I want to hold for a long time. And so it's hard for me to stop buying those pieces that I think are going to be more difficult to get. And I'll show you a couple of them.
Well, yeah, you guys are definitely buying top shelf stuff. I mean,
Spidey don't mess around.
Neo, you got a Hulk 181 and a GX1. Spidey's buying PMGs. I mean, that's a little different than just buying random stuff.
Well, I'm actually chasing the stuff that you got the core Marvel group who they've always known. And then you got the new kids on the block, so to speak, who have an idea. And then you have the newer collectors that are coming in. So the stuff I'm chasing is what has been hard to get from the core group. And that is, do you recognize that?
That's wicked looking.
So that's 2016 Marvel Masterpieces.
And they all have different tier levels, correct? Yeah.
Tier 4 base. That's the What If. Tier 4. There's only 50 of these. That's the Tier 4 Wolverine. It's numbered out of 99.
Yeah, that's cool.
And that's the gold signature, which is not numbered, but it's pretty widely accepted. There's only 50 of those. So this is original art. It's Joe Jusko, who did the 1992 set, which is iconic in Marvel cards. So I've been picking up those tier 4s, and then I've been chasing Royal Foils, which I think are significantly undervalued because they're foiled, much like a PMG. They're numbered just like a PMG. And they're from the same set of 2017 Flare Ultra Spider-Man, which is one of the 3 big PMG sets. That's where this Spider-Gwen comes from. These are actually more rare than PMGs. And
Mhm.
so
How come 2018 Fleer Ultra PMGs are not like I just did a quick search and those are
Mhm.
like not expensive. Why is
Yeah,
that? Are they
I can
not
speak to
rare?
that.
Are they not numbered?
No, there's probably 3 or 4 different reasons. They are numbered, but they didn't follow the historical sequence. So your greens are out of 25. You
Okay.
know, 10 special. It matters. It means something. Um, on top of that, the characters, I think there's 50 characters in that set. The best one is like Mr. Sinister or Magneto, but he's in the white suit. Wolverine's not in it.
Mhm.
Jean Grey, Gambit, they don't have PMGs, even though it's an X-Men set. Makes no sense. It's a bunch of BC characters. But the third part of that is the 2018 set. One person owns about 80% of that product.
Ah, interesting. A
So-
whale.
So he could dump it at any time.
Yeah, it's good it's good and bad, I guess, how you look at that.
It creates some rarity, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
The real cars to chase in that set are the buybacks. They're numbered out of 20.
So I have a question about a card from that set because I just acquired a complete 2018 bronze PMG set, and again, like you said, the characters are a little lackluster. I think Magic might be one of the popular ones in there because she might
Old
not
Man
have a lot of
Logan
stuff.
is
But I have
the best.
the Old Man Logan card came with it, which was an achievement card, I guess. I
Mhm.
don't know a lot about that. I don't even know if that one's numbered or not
It's
on the back.
Ooh.
Because I don't
have
think
to
they
check.
know the print run on it because
I don't think that is because that was an
an
EPAC
achievement.
achievement, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, and there's actually a very interesting story around the Old Man Logan. It's actually the most expensive sketch card that I've actually purchased is a homage to that Old Man Logan because of the story that's around it. So it's going to sound like I'm cussing, but I'm not. Mr. Fucksum is what we call him, Flair Ultra X-Men. He's the one who bought about 80% of that product. One of the achievements on Upper Deck's EPAC is that you had to complete a full set of green PMGs on the EPAC achievement. So you couldn't include your base cards that you pull out of a hobby box, a retail box. Well, he completed the achievement. He got the 1-of-1 gold Old Man Logan PMG. And somehow that card showed up on eBay for auction, even though it was sitting in his binder at home. And then
I remember when that happened.
Then it sold for $69,069.69. And Upper Deck, now this part is a little bit of rumor, so I can't say it's fact, but my understanding is that Upper Deck had to make an agreement with the person who had the card for auction and bought it from him and then destroyed it so it could remain a true 1-of-1.
I've heard that same story from other places as well.
Mm-hmm. So the Old Man Logan is the best card in that set.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting from when I was getting the cards, the one that held the value for that set. When I was like, okay, I want to throw this in, the Old Man Logan seemed to be the significant card out of
And you
that.
got the bronze PMG?
Yeah.
The kind of the base card version of that EPAC achievement costs $200 by itself, raw.
Those are the bronze. Yeah, the bronze PMG.
Yeah.
It looks like the rest of the
good.
2018 bronze set. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Cool.
I haven't been tracking it that close, but have you noticed? I noticed the Wolverine green sold for over almost 5K the other day. Have you noticed
20.
X-Men metal PMGs picking up at all with the PMG
Just
hype?
a little bit, but there's some
I
speculation
know
in
that
that.
suck, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think people are just using some logic to say, hey, if 2013, 15, and 17 are going to just be untouchable at an entry point, this is going to be a great entry point to having a Marvel PMG. And they have great characters. If you're not trying to hold them, next to the original PMGs from Marvel, they're still nice cards. They're not bad. They just don't hold up next to the original PMGs.
I do think some of the high series ones from that, I believe it's the high series, have some really nice photos.
the
They
high
do.
series all comic original, like first appearance or key.
Yeah, like the Bishop
cover
looks awesome.
appearances.
Yeah, it looks like the Bishop on the cover of the X-Men.
Yeah, the
that
Jim
one
Lee
looks
Bishop.
awesome. Yeah,
I
that
would
Jim
really
Lee
like a
photo.
Wolverine high series. but they usually go for more than I'm willing to spend because I'm not a big fan of the reds from that set. But it's the cover to X-Men 133, and I have one sitting right there, and that's my
It's a
favorite
great cover.
Wolverine cover by far.
Do you have the black parallel?
I do not. I haven't dug into those yet.
Mhm.
I haven't picked up a ton from that yet, besides what I opened. And I'll be curious to see how the market accepts, and I think, well, I guess we really don't know until we see them, what the Spider-Man metal PMGs look like. If they're true reds, I think that could be a wild product. If they're pink, like the X-Men ones were, I think it'll do fine. I think the greens will do really well from that set, obviously, and all the other crazy shenanigans that they're packing in there. But we're still thinking February for that, but are we holding our breath for February? I'd kind of be shocked if that actually came out.
I think we kind of moved into hold your breath, to be honest with you. As much as I'm ready to rip that product, and I'm with you, if the reds hit, it's game over. They're going to skyrocket. If they don't, it's still going to be highly chased product.
John Morant is indeed going psycho right now in this Golden State game. I had that on the TV off to the side. I keep glancing over at the score. At one point they were up big, then down big, and now they're up again.
He always played best under pressure. Remember the play-in game last year? I feel like he intensified. Well, this year he's been more consistent, but I feel like last year in his rookie season, he intensified his game based on situation. Now he's just playing consistent good basketball.
He has 29, 8, and 4 tonight on 11 of 23 shooting. Is there a more exciting player currently playing right now in the NBA than Ja? He's like on a highlight reel every single time he plays. There's just like gifs of him getting tweeted or gifs of him dunking and doing crazy shit in every game.
I saw him taking a ball off the top of a backboard next to the top of the square.
Yeah,
with both hands.
He blocked that shot. It was insane.
Give me
One of
that.
the craziest things I've ever seen.
I watched about, I hate to say percentages, but probably about 80% of every Laker game for 20 years until, Kobe retired, and continued to watch until the pandemic. And I haven't actually turned it on since then for whatever reason.
So this is, back to the Spider-Man metal boxes. I don't want to throw this. I think it depends on what we just talked about. If the red PMGs hit, I think $350 a box looks cheap. I think if they don't hit, I don't know that that's a price I'd be willing to pay, but that's the price you're probably going to have to pay if you really want to rip one.
So Neil, I have a question for you. How many people do you think are actively collecting Marvel cards on a regular basis?
Say that last part again. Actively collecting Marvel cards. What?
On a regular basis. So they're searching eBay, they're trying to make trades, or they're ripping product on a regular, daily, weekly basis.
That I don't know. I have no idea.
I think it's probably around 5,000.
That number feels small to me, but I don't know.
Well, just based on.
Well, I guess that's true. You're judging it off the Facebook groups and stuff. That's fair.
Facebook groups and views and listens on podcasts, Instagram interactions. You can look at how many people, if you just search Marvel cards in Instagram, how many people are following. That's about it.
How many of the comic book folks, like the old school, kind of the OGs, are like, this is dumb. Like the Marvel card thing, I don't get it. Like, I don't understand why people are buying that. So there's not a lot of adoption, like crossover between the two and the comic book.
There's vastly more adoption happening from the sports world than from the comic book world. I walked into a comic book store in Little Rock, Arkansas 2 weeks ago. First thing I do when I go to a comic book store is say, "Hi, my name's Justin Underwood. Nice to meet you. Do you have any Marvel cards?" And the dude laughed at me. And his next words were, "Those are worthless. No, I do not." And I said, "Totally get it. Understand. I want you to know they're not. And if anybody calls you to sell them, please call me. I'm happy to take them off your hands." But he has no clue.
I think what you see is, like Justin said, Marvel cards or sports cards are feeding into Marvel cards.
Mm-hmm.
I think Marvel cards are feeding way more in the comic books than comic books are feeding into Marvel cards. I'm sure there is some trickle-down effect. There are people that collect Miles Morales, and they probably want a nice slabbed Miles card to put next to their Ultimate Fallout 4 on a display piece. Does that mean they're collecting Marvel cards? No, but they might want one just to put, in a display case to have it next to it. But I do think there is more crossing, kind of like, to use the Kenny Fornos example from earlier, Steve. Kenny's a big sports card guy. He's also in the Marvel. He got in the Marvel cards. He's deep in the Marvel cards. all of a sudden he's starting to ask questions about comic books. Like, to me, that's the more natural progression. I think, and I don't mean any shade by this because I buy a lot of them, obviously. I think the true comic book collectors, the old school guys, I think view themselves as an elitist level above, like, the Marvel card. It's like vintage sports card collectors look at us modern sports cards collectors. It's kind of like that almost. It's kind of how I relate it, to put it in context that both sides may understand. And anyone can correct me if I'm wrong there. Go ahead, Dustin.
I was just going to ask a quick question. Like, I was just thinking about it with graded comic books. I feel like, do you think that people that collect or invest whatever in graded comic books, they want it in a slab more for, I mean, yes, there's money involved and people flip and all that, but for protection, if you have like a nice book and it's a 30-page book that could get screwed up in a million different ways, like, I don't want it. I need it in some sort of preservation case, and then the grade is kind of like a nice bonus, but even if you're a collector, wouldn't you want it inside a case? That's probably gonna be blasphemy for a lot of the OG folks, but I don't know. I mean, as comic, because I've been back into comic books for 3 years. I haven't been in it for decades and stayed in it or whatever. But do you guys have any opinions on that part? Because like Neo can display, like, I like how it displays. It also protects it.
I mean, they look absolutely fantastic on a back. Whatever you got set up back there, they look great as background display pieces, even if it's not. I have nicer stuff back there, but even if you're collecting cool looking modern variant covers that are $100 in a CGC slab, they still look great displayed like that.
It's like watching Reggie Collects videos.
I was ready to say.
I don't even look at him. I'm looking at his wall the whole time.
I was going to reference him too. Reggie Collects, and it's interchangeable. He has different comic books up there every time.
So I watch him all the time. Obviously, I've been on his show 3 or 4 times, and my wife and I'll throw him on a lot of times at Sunday nights. Usually my wife and I are getting ready to lay down and watch TV, and I'll put his Ready, Set, Go show on, and I'll just like hit my wife, and I'm like, you see that wall behind him? And she'll be like, yeah. I'm like, that's like 10 of our houses. Because he has like an X-Men 1 and a 5. He has like an AF-15. He has a Hulk 1 now. Like, his back wall is insane, and he does rotate through. He has multiple back walls that are all insane. His collection's nuts. But yeah, I mean, that's a perfect point. Like, that stuff looks so awesome behind him. But even when every once in a while he'll just put up a wall of like random raw books, and it still looks good. Even if you had no idea what the value was, you're like, oh, that looks cool. Stacked up behind him. Go ahead, Steve. If you wanted to jump in on this.
Oh, where were we at? We were talking
just
about
with like the graded comic books, like having them slab versus raw. Like, I'm scared to death to touch a raw comic book.
Yeah, I would rather have.
I would never want a Hulk 181 raw. I would be afraid.
Yeah, unless I had a reader's copy or something. If I have a nice copy, I want it slabbed. Not only just for the preservation of the book itself and its condition, but also the preservation of the pages. We all know those pages turn. Because you can buy like top loaders for your comic books, plastic top loaders that aren't slabs, but then you can. I guess you're gonna have to bag them up to then keep them airtight. There was a comment way earlier, someone comparing the cards to the comics, and their comment was, a card is just a front and a back, where a comic book has panels and art and everything on the inside. And my response to that was going to be, not once it's slabbed. Once it's slabbed, it's a front panel and it's a back panel. That doesn't take anything away from it. It's still a great display piece, but once it's slabbed, a card and a comic book, they display the same. They're front and they're back. So that was what I was going to mention earlier to that comment, because someone was trying, were taking their stabs at Marvel cards because they were truly a comic person, which I love comics too. So
yeah, from a display purpose, so the comics do display better. I could have all my PSA slabs lined up back there. All you would know is that they were cards. You wouldn't have any idea. But even like this, anyone that like would randomly pop in would just look at the screen. They'd be like, "Oh, that looks like a giant size X-Men 1 back there." You know what I mean? Or whatever key book it is.
Yeah.
The covers are so iconic on that key stuff that you kind of know what it is, even when it's faded or
Yeah, the bigger items always display better, whether you have comic books or you have cards and uncut sheets, or you. I'm trying to have a thing made now for my Topps Project 2020 Cal Ripken set, and I'm trying to have somebody. That's a 20 card set. Having somebody make me a board where all of the cards, I can line them up in, release order. and how they came out and display the entire set all at once. So it'll look like it's a bunch of cards, but it'll look like one big sheet. I'm trying to.
That's how I
have that
display
done
my
now.
cards.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Oh man, that's awesome.
My
I like
PO
it when
box
Pat
is
uses the
numbered.
figures.
Yeah, so I pair them with the action figures, and kind of build a display. My display's I need to fix it up some more, but I really enjoy this. Maybe even more than I enjoy the comic book display, up on the wall, which I enjoy a lot. But I've had some
There's your
friends.
Silver
Silver
Surfer,
Surfer
Steve.
3 right there.
I
Oh,
see your
yeah.
Silver Surfer right there.
Look at that orange cover, Neo. Look how that just pops out there.
Neo, you like that one?
There you go. Is that a Stan Lee?
Stan Lee 9.0.
Steve wants that first Mephisto. You could send that his way.
Yeah. So sorry, let me set back up here. But I show you that to tell you that people that are reaching out to me that are getting into Marvel cards, some of them are liquidating their comic books because you keep collecting, and it's just so much. You run out of room.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they're like, you know what? I've got to drill this bag down to 30 or 40, 50 comic books, and I'm going to move into Marvel cards because I can catalog it a lot easier. You can put 300 cards in a binder, right? The second thing with comic book collectors, you have a pretty strong dividing line of those who are okay with grading because they like the aspect of having it on the wall, the preservation, but more importantly, they like the idea of being able to track the value of it very easily and maybe sell it one day because you can, provide a lot of confidence in the grade. But then you have the old guard, I know one guy who's just turned 26, so he's not old. He will not slab a comic book at all because he still wants to read it. Even if it's a special, book that's high value, he wants to take the time and actually appreciate and enjoy it. And so you still have people who don't want to buy a slabbed or collect the slab comic book.
Yeah. We'll go ahead and start to wrap up here really quick. I'm trying to think of anything crazy. We'll go around the horn. Obviously, Dustin, Personal Finance Dad, you can find him on his channel. Dustin, do you have anything spicy coming out the next day or two that you want to pump or prime people for? You don't have to give everything away, but
I feel like I should make a Marvel cards video right now while we're just talking. While it's just top of mind, just throw something together.
Yeah.
I haven't made my tomorrow video. I don't know if I'm going to have one ready to go. So we'll have to see. I might have to.
I have a major content backlog right now. I have like I have like 5 videos that I keep, and then stuff keeps happening and stuff keeps getting pushed back.
I'll probably do a reaction to Dakota's video from today.
There you go. Steve, when's you're not cranking out videos daily or anything, but do we have like a live drive again in our future? Or
Yeah, probably the live drives this week were really impromptu. Usually I'm kind of like, okay, I'm going to live drive this morning on the way to work. This week were kind of like, I'm running late for work. I'll do it after work, or I got to stop at the post office or something like that. I bought it. Like I said, I bought a collection this morning. There'll be a video on that once I receive it, showing, some of the stuff that I acquired. Might even have the person who sold it to me come on a live stream. Also, I got to snap some slabs, so I might do a video of me with the old grinder snapping some slabs.
What are you cracking?
Well, I have a card that I need to crack, but I need to practice up a little bit before I crack that card.
What slabs are you cracking? You don't have to name the card.
Oh, I'm going to crack a couple. I'm going to crack a PSA slab and an SGC slab. I don't think I have a Beckett slab that I'm going to crack. I have some cards that have been graded for a long time. They got bad grades. But they're not really high-end cards, so I want to practice snapping those because I have another card that I want to snap that's a higher-end card. I don't like PSA's grade on it. I think they're very unfair. So
are you going to resub it, or are you just going to hang on to it for a while?
No, I'm going to snap it, and I'm not going to send anything back to PSA. It could go to SGC just to get a second opinion on it. And then again, their second opinion might not be what I like, and I will have to resnap it again. If I probably just plan on selling it raw and in person. My plan right now is to snap it, put it in a pro mold, and sell it in Atlanta. That way somebody can look at it. It's not me putting it online and trying to cover up what was a low PSA grade. I'm just putting it in their hands and be like, you take it for what it's worth. You know what I mean? So But for $30 and like a 20-day turnaround, and a second opinion from SGC sounds appealing. But I don't know if I want to do that video. Hey, come back this from PSA. I'm snapping it, sending it to SGC. Let's
You
see
don't
what
want
happens.
all those clicks and views. That'll.
Um,
You want to stir that pot, Steve?
See, I got that. I want to show the. I want to show some of the pop culture icon cards I've been picking up, like the actors and actresses. I want to talk about Marvel cards that I think have potential. But that's more. That's going to sound more like a pump video. But
Pump it up. Steve.
I'm on this Marvel. I'm just starting my Marvel card journey, and I'm having a lot of fun right now. And I'm having a lot of fun discovering the new sets. I just discovered that Vibranium set, and I just started buying them. I was like, these are amazing. These look awesome. They're serial numbers. They're red. They're silver. They got all the good characters in it. And I bought up all the ones that I thought were fairly priced, and I don't even know if they were fairly priced because I'm so new into the market, but I had to have them. And then I'm looking at other sets. One that I looked at, I was going to ask Spidey Jew's opinion about it. He doesn't have to give it because, of course, I don't want you, but I was looking at some Marvel, I think it's Marvel masterpieces like Speckle, and they're like numbered out of 99, I think. I think that could appeal. I think that's a set that's going to appeal to a sports card collector coming into the hobby because everybody likes the Speckle refractors and things like that. I just feel like that's a nice card. I think they look good. They're serial numbered. They have a lot going for them. Serial numbered. They look good. They got good art. They got a Speckle shine to them.
Yeah, so I bid on a Wolverine Speckle in 2016, and I lost out on the bid at $510. Was my bid. And somebody beat me at $111.99. So,
Right.
But yeah, I think you're exactly right.
And this is for a raw card, correct?
For a raw card.
See, and everybody right now is talking so much about PMGs, and you have raw cards of other nice parallels that are going for 500 plus raw. I mean,
yeah, and
they're there.
And look, there's a part of me is like, don't say anything, but I got to be a river. I got to let it flow through me. I can't hold things in and pond them up. But yeah, so Marvel Masterpieces, original art. So they're in the Marvel space. You have original art collectors. They only collect cards that have original art. You can't get this out of a comic book.
Right.
This was made for this card, and that's
now. Is that Jusco? I say that name a lot.
Joe Jusco.
Joe Jusco.
And 2018, Simon Bianchi. 2020, Dave Palumbo, which you just saw Marvel Card Guy reference. All original art. Okay, that's what Marvel Masterpieces is about. So you got original art, you got numbered, you got parallels, you got top characters, you got rarity, you got on-card autos. All of that's in that one set.
And back to what I have going on really quickly, the Atlanta show coming up for me. I'm probably pulling back on my buying, like Dustin said earlier, because like I said, I have a lot of stuff coming in the mail now after that purchase this morning. I'll just get too backed up. I'm a one-person operation. I have a full-time job. I try to put out YouTube content. So it's like I don't have a storefront. So I'm like, I'm getting so much inventory in that I just need to stop so that I can sell it. And I hope to sell a lot of it in person at Atlanta. It's my first time ever setting up at a show. It's getting bigger. I just booked a third table today. Originally I had 2 tables. I just got a third table today because someone else is going to join us. You said sheesh. So there you go. If that's not a giveaway of who else is going to set up at the table with us.
I didn't even know that for sure, but I know that that crew runs together. So
yeah,
we're calling you Sasha Steve.
It's definitely Kenny, and then Kenny reached out to me today. He was like, "Can we throw another table in there?" I think Roth is going to go ahead and come as well. I was like, "Sure." I got with the show promoter. We got another table, so we have 3 tables together. We actually have 2 on the inside row and then on the end cap, so we own the corner. So
nice. Can I throw a few cards in the showcase?
Yeah. There's plenty of space. We actually have 7 showcases already. So I got 4 with the
kids there, so I can just drop my teenagers off.
I got 4 with the tables, and Kenny's bringing 3 showcases. So we have 7 showcases, 3 tables. And it's on the walkway as you're heading back to the basketball court. So we're in a good traffic area. We're on a corner. So if people want to approach the table, they're not stopping up the rows. So yeah, good location. I I'm just nervous that I don't want it to get canceled. I don't want all this COVID stuff to kick back up and then all of a sudden be like, because when we talked earlier this year when we were streaming on my channel and I asked everybody for 2022, what is one big hope for you guys this year? And everybody answered. And remember, one of my number one things was I want the dealer perspective. I want to set up, even if it's only one time, even if it's not what I expect it to be, even if I don't make any money and I just learn from it. I want that experience. I want to be on the other side of the table. And to me, it's still surreal that I'm setting up at a show and it's not like a local show. It's like a good show. It's Atlanta. And I'm like, I got tables in Atlanta. Like, to me, I'm so excited about it and so pumped and so jacked about it. I don't know how I'm going to make it to the end of February, but I will be devastated if it's canceled just because I'm so looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it like a vacation. You know what I mean? I just feel like it's going to be so fun. Cards aside, everybody that's going to be there and hanging out and doing stuff at night, whether it's a trade night or having a dinner or having a drink, I'm looking forward to the experience, not the money that I can get back out of it. I'm looking forward to hanging out with cards like we're doing now, but in person. It's just great.
The travel concerns, like whether it's getting there and or the show actually happening, is the only reason I have not committed to Atlanta yet.
Mm-hmm.
If I knew 100% that the show was going to happen and the airplanes are actually running relatively on time again, and I wouldn't have to worry about trying to get back home in time to get to work on Monday morning, I'd be much more willing to throw down and lock that show in, because I always kind of wanted to check that show out, and then the fact that all you guys are going has leveled it up for me as like I really need to try to get to this. The travel concerns are my biggest issue right now, so I'm gonna play the wait and see game. It's Atlanta; you can always get cheap flights to Atlanta, so I'm not.
Yeah, I can drive to Atlanta if those days are available to me.
Yeah. Spidey, what do you got coming? Any hot? And for those, because these guys are on the freaking live stream. We're all on each other's channels all the time.
Yeah.
Spidey has his own YouTube channel, so go ahead and shout out anything you want to shout out. And then if you got any spicy or cool content coming up that you know of, I don't know how far ahead you plan.
Yeah, Spidey09 is my channel. It's basically Marvel card content all the time. The occasional comic book, Marvel Legends will pop up. But for me, I did a video this morning. I'm still really hesitant on whether or not I'm going to release it. But it's basically how to determine market value for Marvel cards, which is something that's not easy to do. But my expertise actually is in appraising. That's what I'm trained in for my profession. I'm a banker now, but that's how I got into banking. And so just having that knowledge of how to determine market value, those theories and principles, applying those into Marvel cards specifically. But the problem is the video went 24 minutes long and it's kind of heady. So I don't know that I want to post it. I actually think this kind of forum would be a better place to maybe have that conversation where there's going to be some feedback and questions and things of that nature. So I may not post it. Haven't decided yet.
My general consensus is let it rip, but I'm a guy that puts up 20 to 30 minute YouTube videos multiple times a week.
Okay. Yep. Well, I want people to actually hear it. I don't want them to like 2 minutes in, check out.
Yeah, you already did all the work. You might as well post it. Question for you before I kind of close up here: are you planning on going to the National, Justin?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Were you at last year's or no?
Nope.
Okay. Would this be a first for you?
Be first for me for Nationals. The only card show I've ever been to was Dallas last year in May. We just didn't know each other was there.
Oh, I was at the May.
There. Those guys were there.
Yeah,
I was hunting Marvel cards. I got a video about it. I did find some, very little.
I saw some in one of the side rooms right by the door, right across from the big panel of guys selling comic books.
That's right. That was one place. And then I had some in a box where he didn't bring them out. It was like, hey, I was asking around, like, well, that guy over there may have some. And he's like, yeah, I got them here in a box. And then one other guy had 90 MU and then 91 Series 2 or something like that, all graded, PSA graded.
You always put yourself in that moment in time of, man, damn, I should have bought those. That's why I remember so vividly where those Marvel cards were located at that Dallas show. It was one of the only places I found that had them, and I was like,
it was in that side room as you walked into the big room.
Yeah, the side room, and it was right up against the wall, like as you were coming, like it was like.
I will tell you, that guy was very proud of what he had.
Oh yeah.
For that time, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows stuff. Obviously, if you're watching the stream on my channel, but I'm not sure what tomorrow's video is. It may have to change now. but there will be a Marvel PMG market talk video coming out. And then I got a bunch of stuff on a backlog. And I have 4 boxes of Japanese Marvel cards coming from Amazon Japan tomorrow. I still have another box opening that I haven't even posted yet because they keep pushing it off. So I don't know when that's going to go up. And then I kind of want to live stream ripping 2 boxes. Maybe I'll go live Saturday morning, but I don't know if I could wait till Saturday morning to rip the 2 boxes. But yeah, so go check out everyone else's channel that's on the forum here. Smash the like button on your way out the door. Go subscribe to everybody, all the YouTube shenanigans. Thanks for hanging out for the night, guys. Thanks for popping in, Dakota, if you catch this or pop on later. So we'll catch you guys and girls on the next one.
Yeah.
Nice.
Huge honor, guys.